When a Moldovan company producing these dual-use goods is intending to export them to Russia, then we do not authorize it, full stop.
Will Transnistria be part of the European Union?
Of course.
When?
This is something that is yet to be settled.
When Moldova will be a member of the European Union?
2030.
Thank you.
It draws from our lives, experiences, and creative inspirations. The arts, lifestyle, design, food, and drink. This is culture. Euronews Culture. Spark your senses, wake your wonder.
We didn't witness May 68. We didn't witness the fall of the Berlin Wall. We didn't witness the World Cup of '98. We didn't witness one of these great victories that are remembered by an entire generation. But that's okay, because we will also get our victory by committing, by raising awareness, by campaigning, so that soon we can end the AIDS epidemic. Now it's up to our generation to write history.
For a global weather forecast and daily air quality index, connect to euronews.com/weather.
The ocean is the cradle of life. Explore the new opportunities and challenges that lie within our seas. Meet the men and women who work in the blue economy. And discover the projects and policies that protect our oceans. Come with us on a voyage of discovery in ocean on Euronews and euronews.com.
Euronews. The news.
The Freedom Party secures the first election victory for a far-right party in Austria since World War II. The Israeli military says it's hit targets in Lebanon and Yemen, killing at least 28 people. Hundreds of protesters take to the streets of Paris to demand an end to Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon. At a mass in Brussels, Pope Francis urges all members of the church never to cover up abuse. The Freedom Party has secured the first parliamentary election victory for a far-right party in post-World War II Austria. A projection for ORF public television showed the party finishing first with 29.2%. That win pushed Chancellor Karl Nehammer's Austrian People's Party into second place with 26.5%. Freedom Party leader Herbert Kickl said it was a piece of history that we have written together today.
Wir haben das verinnerlicht, wir fühlen uns bestärkt und wir werden von diesem Weg auch nicht abgehen. Diese 29% sind für uns eine Bestärkung. Diesen Weg, den wir bisher gemeinsam eingeschlagen haben, mit noch größerer Intensität.
But to become Austria's new leader, Kickl needs a coalition partner to command a parliamentary majority, and that might be tricky. He said he's open to negotiate with other parties, but so far his rivals, including Nehammer and Social Democrats leader Andreas Babler, have said they won't work with the far right. Speaking in Vienna, outgoing Chancellor Karl Nehammer said it was bitter that his party lost, but his position towards Kickl hadn't changed.
Mit Herbert Kickl, der an Verschwörungstheorien glaubt, die WHO als nächste Weltregierung bezichtigt und das Treffen in Davos als Vorbereitungstreffen für die Weltherrschaft, kann man so vernünftig und verantwortungsvoll keinen Staat machen.
The Freedom Party's win sparked protests outside the Parliament building in Vienna, with demonstrators holding placards with slogans including "Kickl is a Nazi." The far right has benefited from frustration over high inflation, the war in Ukraine and the COVID-19 pandemic, and is also built on worries about migration. The final official results will be published later in the week after a small number of remaining postal ballots have been counted. The Israeli military says its aircraft have struck Houthi targets in Yemen in response to a recent attack on Israel. The IDF says it targeted power plants and seaport facilities in the city of Hodeidah. Houthi-run media say at least 4 people were killed and 33 others wounded in the strikes. Speaking to military personnel in Tel Aviv, Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant said the strikes were impressive.
אין לנו עניין להרחיב את המלחמה, אין לנו עניין לחפש חזיתות נוספות, אבל אם מישהו יתקוף את ישראל, כמו שעשו החות'ים לאחרונה בטילים ולאורך כל המלחמה, בתק"ק ובתל"שים ובכטב"מים, כל אחד שיבצע פעולה כזאת, אנחנו נבוא איתו חשבון, ואנחנו יודעים לעשות את זה.
Meanwhile, in Lebanon, at least 24 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes that hit 2 adjacent buildings near the southern city of Sidon. The Lebanese health ministry says at least 29 people were injured. Israel and Hezbollah have exchanged almost daily fire since the war in Gaza started in October, displacing tens of thousands of people on both sides of the border. And speaking to reporters on his flight back to Italy from Belgium, Pope Francis suggested that Israel's attacks in Gaza and Lebanon have been immoral.
La difesa sempre deve essere proporzionata all'attacco. Quando c'è qualcosa sproporzionato si fa vedere una tendenza dominatrice che va oltre la moralità.
Strikes deeper into Lebanon have intensified in the last week, particularly in the wake of the killing on Friday of Hezbollah's chief Hassan Nasrallah in a southern suburb of the capital, Beirut. Hundreds of protesters have taken to the streets of Paris to call for an end to Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon. The rally comes as Israeli strikes across the country killed dozens of people on Sunday.
On veut juste un seul objectif, c'est montrer l'unité du peuple libanais. Une image qui montre tous les Libanais de partout du Liban, de différents courants politiques, pour soutenir le Liban, les réfugiés, les victimes, soutenir notre pays et défendre notre pays.
Israel and Hezbollah have exchanged almost daily fire since the war in Gaza started in October, displacing tens of thousands of people on both sides of the border. Israel has ramped up its aerial assault on Lebanon, with more than 700 people killed in the last week alone. On Saturday, Israel moved troops close to its northern border, raising fears of an imminent ground offensive into the country. France has been a key supporter of Israel, defending its right to self-defense for years. An arms export report presented to Parliament by the Defence Ministry in 2023 showed that France had issued 767 export licenses to Israel since 2015. France sells an average of 20 million euros worth of military equipment to Israel each year. In April, 11 NGOs in Paris, including Amnesty International, filed a court case to stop France's arms sales to Israel, arguing that civilians in Gaza were being targeted. The court rejected that request in May.
This has become a daily ritual for Shahed Naji, watching the news from his native Lebanon as it faces continued strikes from Israel. Shahed has been living in Berlin for nearly 10 years now, but with family and friends back in Lebanon, the crisis hits close.
Kind of panicking, waking up in the middle of the night to check the news. This is the first time that like real bombing starts happening north of Beirut. And my family come from the north, so like I was just on a call with them and they said they're hearing fighter jets very low.
Shahed's nephew fled from Beirut to the north for safety. He was already looking to go to school in Germany. Now the motivation to leave is stronger.
The range of the attack includes so many possibility of you being next if you are just around the corner. So you have to leave. You have to give up everything.
After the October 7th attacks in Israel, the German government allowed Israeli visitors to stay temporarily without applying for a residence permit or an extension. Euronews asked if such a program would be prepared for Lebanese citizens. The Interior Ministry said that such regulations do not exist for Lebanese people. More than 47,000 Lebanese nationals live in Germany, but others might have a tougher time coming to the country. Immigration and refugees have been dominating headlines. The far-right AfD received the highest vote share in a state election this month, the first time it achieved such a result. Afterwards, the government tightened border controls as it toughened its position on migration. The Interior Ministry says statistics are not yet available for this month on how many Lebanese nationals have applied for asylum. But Shahed says the political atmosphere gives him little hope his family can join him in safety.
I would definitely try to get them to Germany if it's possible. But again, like with the current policies and what's happening within Germany and the last elections results, I don't think this is possible unless something drastic changed and Germany or the EU decided to open asylum for people escaping from the war in Lebanon.
The Pope wrapped up his trip to once-strong bastions of Catholicism in the heart of Europe, Belgium and Luxembourg. During a mass in Brussels, he urged all members of the Church never to cover up abuse, responding to outrage over the scandal that devastated the Church's credibility. He expressed concern for intensifying conflict in the Middle East and appealed for an immediate ceasefire.
Aujourd'hui, qu'il annonce de l'espérance pour l'Église catholique en Belgique. Nous attendons vraiment qu'il nous donne une parole pour nous encourager à rester attachés à la foi. Parce que c'est très difficile.
Are you worried that the Church has not done enough for victims of child abuse?
Yes, the Church has not done enough, certainly here in Belgium and in other countries too, and that's a scandal, that's absolutely true, but that doesn't take away my belief.
Yo. I was letting the man speak because I wanted to hear if he was gonna say a but at the end of that sentence, and he did.
Francis said from Belgium, which he described as a destination for many migrants, he was renewing his appeal to Europe and the rest of the world to consider migration an opportunity to grow together
Okay.
in fraternity.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Gotta be here. You know how, have you guys watched Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones season 1, what was the quote? Nothing someone says before the word but really counts. And they always do this thing, where it's like you talk to someone about the record of child abuse in Vatican, and it's like, oh yeah, well, there's been a lot of child abuse, and Vatican hasn't really done anything to protect these children or to make sure that these priests are brought to justice, you know. They even try to hide the crimes very often. Horrible, horrible. But but I still believe in Jesus. Like, that's kind of, those are two separate. Your faith and like church as an organization, those are two separate things. You shouldn't be intermingling them, and I feel the act of intermingling them is an attempt to lessen the crimes of Vatican. Like, you do it purposefully. You're like, hey, yeah, they're so bad, but you know, like I still believe in Jesus. I still believe in Jesus. Turn the conversation to Jesus, my dude. Don't be focusing on this shit. Don't be doing that. Guess who's back? Yeah, holy shit, have you seen the results? Yesterday, most of my Twitter has been watching Kraut losing his mind over the predictions for the election results in Austria. Most of my Twitter was just him, absolutely baffled, and then going out for drinks. So I knew it wasn't going to be too good, and now that we see the results, yeah, it's not too good, is it? Hiding crimes all over the world for 2,000 years, supporting Nazis, now supporting Russians. And then you go, but. What do you mean, but? That's a different topic. That's a whole different topic. You're not supposed to be, oh, you're mushing them up into one. You mush them up, though, just to hide it. Need to send Schwarzenegger there to fix it? Yeah, please do. Please do. Man, I mean, it was expected, wasn't it? I feel it was. I don't feel anyone's really surprised. I would have been surprised if they didn't win. But I did read a lot of people saying that the turnout was really, really high, so that was also surprising for me. I don't know if I've seen like official turnout numbers. Election 224 turnout.
Ci sarà un impatto devastante e irreversibile sull'ambiente marino.
I can even see that. Statistics? Results? No, is it in statistics or is it in results?
Ci siamo posti intanto il tema di arginare questa marea di autorizzazioni con una sospensiva che aveva il compito di prendere tempo, costruire una legge
turnout very high.
per le aree idonee.
That's what I'm seeing. Reports from the polling stations throughout election day have suggested that overall turnout is very high. Nice. I mean, that's fair. That's enough. Enough information, I guess. Most of the far-right vote came from cannibalizing the center-right vote. So it goes to prove point that every right-winger is one bad day away from a Nazi. Yeah. I see that. I'm also though thinking, I agree with like not trusting right-wingers. I'm in very much the same position where like we do agree on quite a lot of policies. Croatian right-wing specifically tends to be like softer in areas. So I tend to like trust them on some issues. But then like realistically, you look at the situation in Croatian right-wing, for example, the center right-wing technically in Croatia, I don't know what they would be, because we don't have like a true right. We have center right and we have far right. We don't have the between right. But the center right is very open to working with the far right. Which like, I don't know, I feel if you would be ideologically opposed to that shit, maybe you wouldn't be so happy to give them seats in the parliament, you know what I mean? So it's like, we agree, but like, I don't trust you, and I don't want you to get full power, because if they get full power, I'm scared that they're gonna bring the far right like completely in power, and we're gonna get fucked. So Austria is far right. It's deeply concerning. It's very, very, very concerning. Not just that, but also the situation in other European countries, considering the right wingers, is very, very problematic. But yeah, first national election won since World War II, so don't know, guys. If you're close to Austria, I guess be careful. I guess, you know, take notice of where they are going. Does the Croatian right wing stress the ethnic angle or the religious angle? Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. I feel lately, if you compare the two,
the Freedom Party
it would be the religious. It would be the religious, but you know what's their problem recently? They have an incredible, I mean, problem. It's not a problem to anyone who has brain, but right-wingers are not really. But they have this issue where for years they've been campaigning that we shouldn't allow in foreign workers, right? We shouldn't get immigrant workers in Croatia because they're not going to be Christian. And in the idea of Croatian right wing, it's like I think 80% of Croatia is Catholic, right? Which it is. A lot of our people are, you know, casually Catholic, but they do count as Catholic on the population census. So for years they've been campaigning that we shouldn't allow in immigrant workers because they will not be Catholic, and because they will not be Catholic, they're going to be changing the situation way too much, right? But you know what happens now? We're actually getting foreign workers since last year. Last year and this year, both years have broken record in the number of foreign workers coming to work in Croatia on like temporary work visas. But they're Catholics. We're getting Catholics. We're actually getting people who believe in the same religion that we believe in. So far so that we actually have introduced Catholic masses in English to our big cities. Like Osijek, the city close to me, it introduced Catholic masses in English. We have priests who know English who are doing it just for the foreign workers because they all want to go to church, they all want to be participating in the mass, but they don't really understand Croatian, right? So it has caused a bit of a shift in the far-right circles, because so far they were pushing for the religion angle, like, oh, it would be okay if they were the same religion, you know, but like they're not the same religion, so I'm not really sure we want them in. But now that they figured that these workers are the same religion, now suddenly it's like, oh, but it's not just about religion. You know, it's not just about that, like there's also other things different from us. And then whenever you ask them what the other things are, it always boils down to just race. It's always just the skin color, nothing else. Because there's nothing else they could genuinely be against. There's nothing. Like, when you look at the customs, when you look at the way these people are behaving, they're like genuinely just completely normal, chill population. There's nothing else to be bitching about apart from the skin color, which is, you know, it's kind of causing the right-wingers to have some problems. Hezbollah is getting shut on. Holy crap, yes! Nasrallah is gone. His replacement is gone. So today, someone else is gone. So, look, I'm hoping they go all the way to Assad, and then I'm hoping they go all the way straight to Putin. Just, I don't know, as long as this is continuing, if terrorists are getting wiped out, personally, GG with that. Billions must die once again. Yeah. It's like extremely problematic, and also big problem here, huge fucking problem here, is the fact that when it comes to the refugee crisis specifically, like for example, there has been a situation, I think a few days ago, where that Syrian refugee killed people in Germany, or attempted to kill people. I'm not sure if they survived or not. So I'm going to go with like the worst option. But there was a situation with a Syrian refugee, right? We have Syrian refugees in country, in big part, because Russia is fucking bombing Syria, forcing these people to run away, right? And then you had the Russian puppet of Merkel allowing people to just come straight into Germany. So you have a Russia-caused problem on two sides. And how do we solve the Russian-caused problem? By voting in Russian-supported right-wingers. We're literally selling our asses to them on so many fronts. It's ridiculous to watch. There has been news reported recently that there was a fire in Germany back like a few months ago. which started from a parcel sent from Russia. Like they genuinely tried to send a bomb and just to see part of Germany blow up. Germans figured it out on time, luckily. But it wasn't reported in the media at all because they didn't want for it to influence the elections. They didn't want for the Russian-supported parties to lose some votes. So they hid the evidence of Russian terrorist attempts against Germany. It's very, very concerning to me that we're just allowing them to do it. Like you see Russians pushing immigrants over the border in Poland. They're pushing immigrants over the border. They are inviting immigrants to Belarus, saying them, hey, come to Belarus, this is your path to Europe. So these immigrants come to Belarus, Belarus pushes them into Poland. All actions completely blessed by Russia itself. And then what do the Poles do? They're like, oh fuck, we should vote for the right-wingers supported by Russia to fix this problem. Yeah. I don't know. I'm genuinely so fucking concerned about this. I'm so concerned about this situation. Being in the same country as a large Muslim population would make you a bit more tolerant. That too, because like, and in Balkans specifically, all right? We saw Serbs in 1990s killing Bosniaks because they were Muslim. Like we saw this. We lived through this sort of religious discrimination already, right? And now we're like, oh yeah, fuck these Muslims. Fuck these Muslims, their religion is horrible. They're all slaves of the Ottomans and they're trying to rule over Europe and we should just kick them out. I don't know. I see why Serbs fall for this shit, right? Because they have Vučić in power, who is the right hand of Milosevic. So you would expect like the same propaganda to be running through their regimes, right? But Croats? I don't know. Deranged, absolutely deranged. You FO? Austria did not learn, true. Or Austria learned and Austrians actually supported their shit. Depending if you want to see them as confused or just fucking evil. Hey yo, fish. There was genuinely no reason for Israel to do all of this. When we were trying to de-escalate the situation, they keep escalating the situation with the aggression. Yeah, you see though, the thing is, I'm not a person supporting de-escalation policies. I am strongly against de-escalation policies. The way to defeat terrorists is by defeating them properly in warfare. You don't de-escalate with terrorists. You don't negotiate with terrorists. Right? You can't de-escalate. I think de-escalation policies with Hezbollah, de-escalation policies with Hamas are as useful as de-escalation policies with Russia or as useful as de-escalation policies with Nazis were, which if you look at the history and the Munich betrayal being signed, I think you know exactly how useful that shit was. So I'm not in any way in support of de-escalation, which is a code word for appeasing them. I don't support it. You can't do any sort of meaningful deals with terrorist groups. They have to be wiped out. Now, the methods of wiping them out and shit like that, we could, discuss that. Specifically, Israel has been shown to, be a bit too willing to allow civilian casualties. So if we want to talk about the problems of that, we can and should talk about the problems of that, absolutely. But I do not support the idea of de-escalating when it comes to our dealing with terrorist groups. Just like wipe the fuckers out. The longer you allow them, the longer you appease them, more power you are giving them, more alliances they can be building. Like the current situation with Russia getting Iranian drones, for example, you wouldn't have that if we defeated Russia properly the second it stepped into Ukrainian soil, right? The second it went into, the second they went into Crimea and took over government buildings, we should have wiped them out. We had a chance to wipe them out. We had a chance to help Ukraine defend its borders. We didn't do it. We appeased them. We were pursuing de-escalation on that front. And what did it lead to? A whole fucking war and Russian terrorist attempts on our countries. De-escalation is, for me, like rather cowardly and, a same path we took to create conditions for World War II. Bullshit from the left? What bullshit from the left are we talking about? What is Austrian left saying? Let me see who they have in the left wing. Yeah, Transnistria. Have you seen the Twitter video?
Since January, what is the
of that man
impact
from
of
Moldova
those
going
new
into
custom duties
Transnistria,
for
just like
your
passing the Russian
economy?
checkpoint?
Этот товар подорожал.
Because I thought that was great. I thought that was great. He just like passes and the Russians try to stop him. And they're like, hey, you can't be filming here. You can't be filming. And he's like, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you to tell me this? You're a Russian? This isn't Russia. Like, who the fuck allowed you to set the laws here? And he just like he goes on his way. They don't actually manage to stop him. They like stand in front of the car. He goes out. He argues with them. He chases them to the side. They leave. Not really happy with Transnistria being talked about as if it's actually a country. Not really happy with this.
When a Moldovan company producing these dual-use goods is intending
No. Austrian.
then we do not authorize it. Full stop.
Will Transnistria
Oh yeah, I might be unknowledgeable on the Austrian far right. Let me check.
This is something that is yet to
I mean,
be
I don't think I am, but
when
let me see.
Moldova will be a member of the European Union?
2030.
Thank you.
Freedom Party of Austria. They call to lift the sanctions against Russia. They oppose sanctions on Russian energy. Yeah, not friends of Italy. Not friends of Italy at all. Hezbollah does not have the same interests as Russia. Russia is actively trying to expand its sphere of influence. Hezbollah leaders, aside from Israel, do not have an expansionist agenda. If Israel invades Lebanon, as a part of this, Israel will do what they did in Gaza, but 10 times worse. I don't really expect Israel would invade Lebanon, to be fair. I might be confused on that, but I don't really think.
Your next news bulletin on Euro
I don't
News is
really
coming
think
up in under 1
Israel
minute.
is going to invade Lebanon. But yeah, sure, we can see. But Hezbollah are still terrorists. Like, it's still a terrorist group. They don't have the same goals as Russia. They don't have the same interests as Russia. They're still a terrorist group. GG with defeating a terrorist group. I'm alright with doing that. Our president is rather left. Oh wait, I'll have to look into that. I'm confused about... I follow a Ukrainian channel, not a Russian one, but he doesn't speak English. So he's whose side is he on? Who does the streamer in question believe Cream belongs to?
The Freedom Party secures
How
the
big
first
of a
election
problem is this?
victory for a far-right party in Austria since World War II.
I don't really think Israel is currently in a situation to be invading, to be completely honest.
Killing at least 28 people. Hundreds of protesters
like I'm not
take to the
really.
streets of Paris to demand an end to Israeli
I don't know.
airstrikes on Lebanon.
I don't know. Might be my
Thousands of people
lack
in
of knowledge of the
Portugal
situation.
protest against
Definitely, I'm
uncontrolled
kind of not really
immigration in a
seeing
rally
them
called by
wanting
the
to pursue
far-right
that
Chega
at all.
party.
Because yeah, as you say, if Israel invades, it will only cause a resurgence in an organization like
Freedom
Hezbollah.
Party has
Though,
secured the
oh,
first parliamentary election victory for a far-right party in
oh,
post-World War II Austria.
man, you know what
The
I see as a
projection
problem
for
there.
ORF public television
The same was
showed
said
the
about
party
Hamas.
finishing first with 29.2%.
The same was said about
That
Hamas.
win
Like if
put
Israel
Chancellor
responds
Karl
strongly and if
Nehammer's
Israel
People's
goes and
Party
invades
into second
Gaza,
place with
then they're only going to
26.5%.
see more people
Freedom
supporting
Party leader
Hamas
Herbert
and joining
Kickl said it
Hamas,
was a
right?
piece of history that we have written together
But
today.
from information that we're seeing so far, they have been kind of successful in wiping them out, haven't they? So,
But to become Austria's new
you know, in
leader,
that
Kickl
line,
needs a coalition partner to command a parliamentary majority, and that might be tricky. He
I'm
said
feeling
he's
they would
open to
take
negotiate
the
with other
idea of
parties,
an
but so
invasion
far
on
his rivals, including
Lebanon
Neil
only
Hammer
causing a
and Social
resurgence in
Democrats leader
Hezbollah.
Andreas
I'm feeling they
Babler
would take
have
it
said they
as
won't
seriously
work with the
as,
far right.
you know, they took the Gaza situation,
Vienna,
which was,
outgoing
oh, we're
Chancellor
willing
Karl
to cause a lot
Nehammer
of
said it
civilian
was bitter
casualties
that
just
his
to see the
party lost, but his position
terrorists
towards
wiped
Kickl
out.
hadn't
And they
changed.
did see a lot of civilian casualties. Holy shit, they caused so many deaths. And in doing so, they did manage to deal a huge blow to the terrorist organization also. So it is like...
The Freedom Party's win sparked protests outside the Parliament building in Vienna,
I'm not,
with
but thank you.
demonstrators holding placards with slogans
Terrorists
including
must all
Kickl
die.
is a
Only feel
Nazi.
sorry for the civilians. Yeah,
Far-right has
yeah,
benefited
definitely. I feel
from
that.
frustration over high
Yeah,
inflation,
Freedom
the
Party
war in
calls for end of
Ukraine and the
sanctions.
COVID-19 pandemic, and is
Freedom
also built on
Party
worries
of
about
Austria calls for
migration.
ending the sanctions,
Final
which means
official
that
results will
the
be
right wing
published
in
later
Austria
the
is
week
not on the
after a
same page
small
as the
number
right
of
wing in
remaining
Italy
postal
is.
ballots have been counted.
I think Hamas has any troubles recruiting new people. I think Hamas more so has
The Israeli
troubles
military
of
says its aircraft have struck Houthi targets
being
in Yemen in response to a recent attack
Houthi
on
targets.
Israel.
Oh no,
The
Hassan
IDF
must be
says it
crying about
targeted
this.
power plants and seaport
I think Hamas
facilities in
has
the city
problems of being
Hodeidah.
efficient,
Houthi-run
being
media say at least 4
in
people were
any
killed and
way
33
close to the
others wounded in
efficiency
the
that they
strikes.
had before all of this.
Speaking to military
Like
personnel
even
in
if they
Tel Aviv,
manage to
Israel's
get
defense
more
minister Yoav
people, which
Gallant
I
said the
assume they
strikes
would
were
because
impressive.
Israel did kill a lot of civilians, right? And I can understand that a lot of people would be pissed the fuck off and want some revenge. Though I do think Israel has been rather successful in wiping out leadership and also in figuring out how to wipe out the ways that Hamas has been kind of integrated into civilian society and where they have been hiding and shit like that. So it would be hard for them to reach the same amount of efficiency, really. They're kind of castrated. You know what I mean? They're kind of castrated as a group right now. They are going to get new members. But as a group, I feel they are less dangerous than what they used to be, and especially if their alliances are also broken, if, you know, countries supporting and funding them are kind of stepping back because they also fear Israeli attacks against their terrorists, I feel there could be a level of control established over them. Hamas already dwindled quite a bit before the invasion. It was explicitly acknowledged by Hamas that if they were to hold an election in Gaza, they would lose. Since the war, anti-Israel sentiment has only grown stronger. I could understand that, yeah, definitely. Man, oh, this reminds me, who was it? That posted a screenshot from the few screenshots from Russian Telegram channels, and one of these, one of the Russian groups does a thing where for a specific number of subscribers on Telegram, they release a video of them killing a civilian in Kherson.
Israel and Hezbollah have
Just like that, you know, it's like, oh, we got a few thousand subscribers. Yeah, look at this video of an old man driving a bicycle on the road and we just threw a bomb on him. And that's that. Horrible, fucking horrible.
On Saturday,
you're at work? I feel ya. I'm going to work in like a day, 2 days, 1 day. It feels like nothing, so day and a half, so I'm gonna call it a day. So I have a reason to be more sad.
Presented to Parliament by the Defence Ministry in 2023 showed that France had
Ooh,
issued
the Frenchies.
767 export licenses to
French
Israel
far right
since
faces
2015.
trial.
France sells an average of
I wonder how the
20
far
million
right in
euros
France
worth of military
has
equipment to
commented on
Israel
this.
each year.
How do our
In April, 11
far right
NGOs in Paris, including Amnesty
respond to
International,
these
filed
hits?
a court case to stop France's arms sales to Israel, arguing that civilians in Gaza were being targeted. The court rejected that request in May.
That's interesting, because they've been running on the platform of Islamophobia for quite a long time, haven't they?
This has become a daily ritual for
But now they're
Shahid
put into a
Najee.
situation where they have to be defending Islamist terrorist organizations. Because if they support hits on them, then that means they support destroying one of the branches of Russian influence.
Kind of panicking.
So I would very much wonder where our far right stands on this. Really,
like real bombing starts happening.
Feels like it's a situation they can't win because they have to betray some of their ideals, right? You either like betray Russia or you betray the Islamophobia part of your party. Being at the side of an alliance like NATO is crucial. True. Absolutely. Oh, I do wonder how do the new Austrians feel about NATO?
Includes so many
Do we think they are reasonable on it?
Just around the corner. So you have to leave.
Do we think they are reasonable?
After the October 7th attack,
I saved a video on them. We could watch a video. Oh yeah, I can't find anything on them commenting on NATO.
Or an extension. Euronews asked if such a program would be prepared.
Because so far what we have seen with far right is that they are very willing to weaken Europe and weaken NATO itself in order to play into Russian interests. So I do wonder if Austrian ones are doing the same thing, really. Let me see.
This video is sponsored by Nvidia AI. The election results are in for Austria, a nation of 9 million people. And in a stunning turn of events, the far-right FPÖ has taken Austria by storm, winning the parliamentary election. Their victory, while anticipated by many polls, has still sent shockwaves across Austria and the European Union, an institution of which the FPÖ is not a fan. Now the real challenge begins. Who will end up ruling Austria? What will the coalition look like? With no clear majority forming a functioning government,
so it's going to be a situation like with Macron?
Before we dive into the numbers, let's take a quick
like
look
with
at
Macron
how
kind of
Austrian
blocking
politics
leftists
actually
and
work.
then putting
Austria
in
operates a
a
federal
center
parliamentary republic.
candidate
This means
as
that power is
the
divided
prime
between the
minister,
federal
despite the
national
fact
level,
that
known as the
leftists
Bund,
got
and
more
the
votes.
state level, known as the Bundesländer. On the federal level, the chancellor oversees the executive branch, while the parliament, also called the National Council, forms the legislative branch. Together they are responsible for nationwide matters, such as foreign policy, defense, immigration laws, and taxation. At the state level, governors lead the executive branch, while state parliaments, also called Landtage, form the legislative branch. These state bodies manage areas such as education, policing, cultural affairs, and healthcare, allowing them to tailor policies to specific needs of their region. Now, this election was super significant, as people went to the polls to elect members of the federal government in Vienna. So who won, and what does it mean for Austria and the EU? Well, before we get into that, we'd like to highlight something important. Creating videos like this takes a lot of time, and releasing them within a day of an important event like this one means I need all the help I can get. That's where AI tools like Nvidia AI come into play. Nvidia AI is the world's most popular AI video creator, with over 25 million users across 190 countries.
What's going on?
Prompt, like create a 3-minute video about the
I tried
recent
to use this,
elections
by
in
the way.
Austria.
It's an okay
From there, I
thing.
can choose the audience, the style of the video, and even the
Or
platform
something
where I'll
similar to
upload
this. I
it.
don't know what it
In-video
was.
AI then generates
Well,
a
okay, it was kinda
complete
good.
video draft in seconds. This version might not be perfect, but that's the beauty of it. You can refine it with simple text commands. Want to translate it to French? Done. Need to add subtitles? You can start
Bro,
because
just,
you
like,
want to your video
come back.
credit quite remarkable.
Thank
In
you.
a stunning outcome, the far-right Freedom Party of Austria, also called FPÖ, led by Herbert Kickl, surged into first place with 29%
Podgorica
of the vote
had
and
elections.
57 seats. This
Fun
marks
thing
a
though.
staggering
Shit.
26.
Sorry for the pause. Fun thing that happened. Montenegro has a situation where like a lot of the voters that they have in the country are people who, it says in their documents that they live in the country, but they don't actually live in the country, right? They live in Republika Srpska. So what has happened is over the weekend, there has been a lot of reports of cars from Republika Srpska being parked in front of hotels. Because it's basically voters whose residence is said to be in Podgorica, they were coming to vote, right? So of course, people of Podgorica were rather pissed off about this because you basically have a large influx of citizens who don't even live in your fucking country. It just says on their papers that here is their residence. They come in and they vote and they steer your politics in whichever directions they want to be steering it in, right? But they don't actually live here. Like, it's not actually influencing them. So what they did is they stole their license plates. They just went around and stole their license plates so they can't return back to Republika Srpska. So yeah, I thought that was rather a fun thing to watch happening on social media, because a lot of these people were like reporting it to police, like, hey, I can't cross over the border now because like I have no fucking license plates. Someone stole my license plates. And it was just Montenegrins pissed off about imported Serbs going to vote.
Seat increase from their previous performance 5 years
Man,
ago,
plus
representing
26,
a massive
holy
surge in
shit.
support. The FPÖ's platform is centered around the idea of Fortress Austria, pushing for strict immigration and asylum policies, reinforced border security, and initiatives aimed at encouraging the return of immigrants. Culturally, the party emphasizes the
Austria's
protection of
getting used to
traditional
this.
Austrian
Old
values,
people in Austria
actively
now being
opposes
like,
what
oh
it
man,
calls gender
deja vu.
ideology, and seeks to counter political Islam.
I've seen this
On the
happening.
international front, the FPÖ remains a staunch defender of Austria's neutrality,
Oh,
strongly
opposing gender
opposing NATO
ideology.
membership and
Opposes
any military
joining
support for Ukraine
NATO.
in its conflict with Russia. The party also
Opposes
advocates
Ukraine's
for
support.
limiting the European
Great,
Union's
they
influence,
elected
placing
Russians.
a
Opposes
strong emphasis
EU.
on protecting
Incredible.
Austria's sovereignty.
They just
In
elected
second place,
pure
the Austrian People's
Russians
Party,
in their
also
fucking
called
midst.
ÖVP, led by Karl Nehammer, secured 26% of the
Wild.
vote, resulting in
Wild
51
is this
seats.
not?
The centre-right
Wild.
party has seen a significant loss of support over the last 5 years, partially due to the fallout from
Has
the
gonna move to Germany soon. Just waiting. Just wait. Scholz is already losing in popularity. I feel that is presenting a good option for someone from the outside to kind of jump in, take over the leadership of Germany, maybe. Meteorological conditions will be favorable to carry out nuclear strikes. Oh shit! Radioactive clouds need only 2 weeks to spread across the northern hemisphere. Bro! Bro! No, they're acting like fucking cartoon supervillains. This is wild. That shit is insane. Imagine that. Can you imagine that? Oh, guys, yeah, look, the weather this weekend is going to be perfect for nuking half of the world. Oh, no, it's not. Russians are pieces of shit, and they have been pieces of shit since the start of this. I highly, highly recommend, if you think this is fake news, I highly recommend going and following Julia Davis to be able to look into what Russian propaganda actually is airing on their TV. Because something like this, if you follow Russian TV, this wouldn't be a shock to you, really. If you follow their television, this would not be a shock at all. But yeah, I feel if you don't really know what they're saying, I understand how it might be an unexpected way for them to communicate.
Если это произойдет, мало не покажется никому. Чтобы отрезвить наших неприятелей, напомним им о последствиях. И если провокация произойдет в ближайшее время, то метеоусловия для нанесения нами ядерных ударов по противнику ожидаются благоприятные. Несмотря на преобладающий западно-восточный перенос воздушных масс, с наступлением октября метеорологические ветры изменят свое направление с западных на восточное, то есть воздушные массы будут смещаться не к нам, а в Европу. Для перемещения по всему северному полушарию радиоактивным облакам нужно всего лишь 2 недели, а за 2 месяца они накроют уже и южное. В результате ядерного удара в атмосферу будет выброшено более 200 миллионов тонн аэрозолей, из которых около трети – это углерод. Особенностью этого элемента является способность поглощать солнечный свет за счет глубокой черной окраски. В итоге гигантские площади на нашей планете на 95% будут погружены во тьму, как минимум на несколько недель, но сумерки продержатся на Земле около года. Глобальная температура катастрофически понизится, в среднем аж на целых 20-30 градусов. Ядерная осень займет первые 3 послевоенных года. Глобальная температура будет стремительно подниматься со скоростью более 1 градуса в год. Минимальных отметок она достигнет на 4-5 год. На Земле наступит ледниковый период. По некоторым расчетам, ядерная зима сохранится на десятилетия. Тропики испытают небывалый температурный шок. Фотосинтез растений полностью прекратится. Фактически они погибнут. Более 5 миллиардов человек могут умереть от голода, включая примерно 99% населения США и Европы. Имеет значение и время начала ядерной войны. Если в июле, то в северном полушарии резкое падение температур ниже нуля приведет к остановке всех обменных процессов растительности, и все тоже вымерзнет навсегда. Животные,
Can you imagine like sitting on your couch and just gobbling this up like a good boy? Can you imagine that? Just like sitting in your living room, watching that on your TV, going, yeah, the meteorological conditions are actually good if you want to carry out a nuclear strike against people. Can you fucking imagine it? Just horrible. Hey, Adolfer, USA nukes are the best option to prevent the death of your military. Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, nukes used as a deterrent, GG, absolutely. What's incredibly sad is that Ukraine lost its deterrent, partially because it was pushed into it by the Western supposed allies, because if they still had a deterrent, this whole situation would be happening. Russia, though, is not using the nukes as a deterrent. Russia is using nukes to actually threaten nuclear strikes against other countries, which is a very different situation. Hey, Yoshap. Takes 2 people to fire the nukes. Putin may be up for it. Literally everyone, oh hell no. Oh, definitely. Nuclear threats have been rather useless from the start, because like there's not going to be a nuclear threat, all right? There's not going to be a nuclear threat. There's not going to be a nuclear threat in any time soon, really. First off, because everyone, holy shit, because everyone, yeah, sure, around Putin would have to agree to do a nuclear strike, and thus to lose everything they have in Russia, because like you know that shit is getting responded to. But another problem is that all of their kids, all of their wives, all of their sluts are in European countries right now, right? You think Lavrov's kids are fucking in Russia right now? Bullshit. You think Solovyov's kids are in Russia? Bullshit. None of their kids are in Russia because they all know Russia is a shithole. They don't want to say that. They're not going to be blowing up their own kids. It's not going to happen. If anything matters to them is that the money stays in the family of oligarchs, right? So, no. There has never actually been any danger of a fucking nuclear strike against our countries. Where there is danger is in their bullshit about tactical nukes being used against Ukraine, because I do remember we have seen certain Western media falling for that bullshit of like, oh, there's like normal nukes and then there's tactical nukes. So if they use tactical nukes, should we respond as if they used a normal nuke? Bullshit. Alright? Bullshit. But, so yeah. Fuck, wait, I forgot where I was on this. I saw a comment that in Russian the surname of the leader sounds funny, same in Croatian. Nastrala is like, it's a word for she shut out a lot. She shut out a lot. That's what Nastrala means. She shut out a lot. Russia will turn itself to nuclear wasteland faster. We can hope. But yeah, forgot. Two dangers. First danger is the tactical nukes. Don't allow bullshit. There's no fucking tactical nuke. Nuke is a nuke, alright? There's no fucking tactical nuke. It's bullshit. But another problem is that they are threatening to blow up nuclear energy facilities in Ukraine. So it's, you know what I mean? They're not going to throw a nuke. Why am I getting a playlist? They immediately like, oh yeah, insane playlist right after this. Fair. Like they're not going to actually chunk a nuke. They're going to either figure out a way for us to make it sound like something allowed by using the tactical thing, or they're going to be like, oh shit, we accidentally blew up the nuclear energy facility. Oh no, radiation. Oh, we didn't see this coming. So yeah. Fuck. Nuclear war would be impossible, but seeing how the new fascism, Nazism, and so on are spreading, I'm no longer so sure about that. No, it's pretty impossible, really. It's pretty impossible as long as we keep containment of Russia, strong. It's impossible. There's not going to be a nuclear war, really. Russia is not going to launch the nukes, right? Russia is not going to launch the nukes, and our countries aren't going to be the first ones launching the nukes either. So you're not really going to see a nuke launched from that direction. Not the only threat. Who else do you think would be launching the nuke? Apart from, like, Russian agent themselves, which is, again, creating a situation where Russia loses everything it has, because we already know which countries are supporting it. Ukraine was forced to hand over everything related to nuking, even a nuke-capable plane, which was turned to museum, sawn into two pieces under close eye of US Commission, so it won't be able to fly ever again. Holy shit! North Korea? I don't think North Korea is gonna do it. I don't think North Korea is gonna do it. And North Korea has been bitching about that for a while, hasn't it? It's been years. Every few years they're like, guys, we're gonna launch a nuke this time. Guys, we will be launching a fucking nuke. Like, a nuke is never launched. That's the first thing. Not that they like eating shit, but like the other problem, alright? If North Korea launches a nuke, it means a country from the Russian alliance is launching a nuke, which means problems for Russia itself, alright? Because, like, if you think this will not be something directly endorsed by Putin and Russians themselves, come on. If North Korea actually manages somehow to launch a nuke, it'll come with a full blessing from Russia. And our leaders know this. Our leaders are fully well aware of this. If something like that happens, we will be forced to respond. And I fully believe we will be responding in big part also to the Russian invasion. So yeah, I don't really think it's in Russian interest for their allies to do something like that. That would be like a very serious move. Ta-da-da-da-dun. Oh no.
I'm dead, really dead, because I'm dead, really dead, and the whole world has to answer right now.
Every single country owning nukes is a potential threat, depending on who's ruling that country.
I'm dead.
I mean, I wouldn't say all of them. I wouldn't say all of them. I'd say some of them are rather harmless. You know what I mean? Not anti-Semitic, thus I support Israel. I think there's a nice, healthy line to draw between supporting Israel in the area of supporting Israel. All right, there's like a group of people who support it, And I think there's the reasonable part of it, and there's not really the reasonable part of it. So just support for Israel for me doesn't really mean that much. It's like when people say that they support Palestine. Like, there's a reasonable part of Palestine supporters, and there's the absolute deranged part of Palestinian supporters. And it kind of depends on which side, one is on. Denazification. Oh, so you support wiping out Russian invaders. I can agree with that. UK nukes. Launching the UK nuke would be a suicide mission for the people on the sub. Takes an hour for them to fire the missiles, and UK is tiny. It would take like 5 or 6 modern nukes in response to bury it. Oh man, that sounds interesting. White elephant, so the UK can puff out its chest. Now we're a big boy. No, dangerous. Do you support Israel? Man, I do think they had the right to respond to a terrorist attack on their soil. I think every country should respond to terrorist attacks on their soil, which is why I'm rather pissed off about, for example, Germany, knowing that Russia has attempted terrorist attacks against them and just not doing anything. I feel it's a betrayal against your nation to not respond. Though also Israel has caused a lot of civilian casualties in Gaza, a lot of civilian casualties, and I don't really believe that they were trying to minimize them as they should have. So considering that, I do expect there's going to be some interesting trials coming out of this situation, war crime trials specifically, and I do support certain Israeli leadership getting onto them. Absolutely. I think that we have seen genocidal rhetoric being spread, and we also have seen soldiers celebrating crimes that they've done. So absolutely, like in that regard, definitely problematic. While their response was valid, I do not think the actions in Gaza were valid. You support the genocide? Which genocide? What are you now talking about? So yeah, that's basically it. And also we have seen in Israel itself, we have seen the right-wingers getting elected. We have seen a lot of very problematic rhetoric coming from Israeli leadership. So yeah, definitely having big problems with that. Israel against Palestinians? No, I literally just responded. That no, I do not think Israeli crimes against Palestinian civilians were in any way justified, and I do believe that plenty their people need to go to war crime trials because of it. Like, I've literally given you a response to that. I don't really go into the anti-Semitism regarding Jewish people, so yeah, the whole thing about ethnic makeup of billionaires, I don't really fall for that. Not really that type of a person. Oh yeah, ads. I don't know how often ads go. I sometimes get a countdown to when they are starting. Not now, though. So I don't know. Sometimes there's like, oh, an ad incoming, and sometimes no. He's just anti-Zionist and not anti... Yeah, it's always like that. It's always like, I'm just anti-Zionist. But like, did you know the Jews are just bad? Like all of the Jews. Jewish billionaires are sucking up all of our resources. That would be a very Hitler thing to say, wouldn't it? Oh guys, yeah. Ukraine and Russia, yeah, both of them are dealing with a common enemy, which are the Jews. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, very, very Nazi thing to say. Seeing the Syrians celebrating Nasrallah's death was amazing. That's true. Yeah, that's a part of these attacks that I can be supportive of. Like, I wish we could like separate Israelis' horrible crimes against civilians and Israeli actual actions against terrorists, but it's kind of impossible because I genuinely do think that they have been shown not to be too careful when it comes to the amount of collaterals that they are causing. A Jew Banderovitz. Oh shit. a specific breed. Holy crap. That's new. That's new. That's new. That's new. A small percentage of actual Israeli citizens are Semitic. The real Semitics are the Palestinians. I feel like if you need to go out of your way to like using semantics, try to explain why you're not anti-Semitic. You just want to make it clear that you hate Jews. I feel that's a rather like problematic hill to be dying on in the first place. You know, it's like, guys, I'm not actually anti-Semitics. Jews are not Semitic in the first place. So like, when I hate them, it's not that big of a problem because, you know, using anti-Semitic is not the right word to be using against me. Just call me a Nazi instead. I don't care what Israel does to the Arabs, but you care about the idea of them being rich in Ukraine and Russia, which like now it now seems like less of an issue. Is it moral to kill 100 civilians if you kill one of the vilest terrorist leaders and can potentially save a lot of lives in the future? I do think that the problem is that we have seen genocidal rhetoric specifically being shared from the right wing in Israel. And also we have seen their soldiers themselves engaging in rather problematic acts. So I think then, like, I think there's a difference between going to wipe out terrorists and then acknowledging the tragedy of collaterals being caused by this, and going to wipe out terrorists and not really giving a shit about the collaterals you cause because you don't actually care that much about these civilians. And in my mind, I feel Israel is falling very, very neatly into the problematic part of this, which again is why I do hope that the war crimes trials are going to be fair in this situation, and I do hope a lot of people are going to be brought to justice. Twitch does not describe the attitude of Jews towards other nations. Twitch? Like the platform? Why should it? How? Not sure what you mean. You mean about like Twitch streamers? I'm pretty sure a lot of very popular Twitch streamers are indeed rather open about the fact that Israel is spreading genocidal rhetoric. Some of them from a more deranged points of view, specifically talking about leftists in that situation, who I do not think are reasonable people at all. But no, I do think that when it comes to the biggest streamers on Twitch, I do think they are rather open to discussing the way Israelis are spreading genocidal rhetoric against Arabs.
2021 scandal involving former Chancellor Sebastian Kurz. Kurz was forced to resign amid allegations of corruption and manipulating public opinion, with accusations that he and his allies misused public funds to buy
I'm kind of, you know what I'm scared of though, when it comes to that? You know what I'm scared of? Not scared of, but like cautious about in a way. I'm rather cautious about going, oh, it's a small part of Israelis. It's a small part of the right-wing fascists. Because to me, that reminds me of, oh, it's Putin. Oh, it's Putin and it's the Russian regime. It's not the Russian people. It's just Putin and the Russian regime. You know? Because like if you look at the situation in the West Bank, for example, if you look at settlers there, I feel it becomes rather obvious that it's not just a tiny amount of far-right fascists in Israeli government. It's not that tiny of a number, right? Bit naive to believe Israel is fighting terrorism. It's clear that this is ethnic and religious cleansing. Many countries have suffered terrorism and have not committed Israel's atrocities. I could see that. I do see their actions in Gaza as being ethnic and religious. Religious? Yeah, religious cleansing. I do see that. I do see that. And again, especially the actions in West Bank, I feel for me strongly supported this. But at the same time, I do believe they are fighting terrorists, right? They've been hitting Hamas, they've been hitting Hezbollah, they've been hitting Houthis. I do believe that they are also fighting terrorists. And I believe both can be true at the same time, right? Like, you don't need to endorse Israel 100% because they are killing terrorists. You can acknowledge that they are killing terrorists, and you can also acknowledge that what they are attempting to do in Gaza is ethnic and religious cleansing. You don't have to, you don't have to do a thing where you're like, oh, are they good guys or bad guys? I have to figure out a box to put them into. You don't have to do it. You can condemn it. You're allowed to do that too. So it shows like 10%. I don't know if they would be able to do what they are doing if it was genuinely 10% though. I don't know if they'd be able to do what they do. But also, I don't know if it would be 10% in a country that got hit by a terrorist attack. Because in that situation, like, I feel like it's rather easy to understand the sentiment of Israelis, right? If your country got hit by a terrorist attack that huge, like, look at just European countries right now as we speak, right? You get Islamist terrorist attacks. And what do you get? You get the far right getting more votes. And the far right specifically exists on the platform of we want to kick these refugees back into countries where they will be tortured and executed. We are all right with that. Right? And you have a lot of support for these parties popping up whenever there's a terrorist attack coming, because of course it is. People are fucking terrified. And they want some sort of a revenge for the people that they've lost in terrorist attacks. And I feel in Israel, that would also make sense. This newfound support for far right, it would be kind of expected. I don't know if it would be as low, really. I would be genuinely surprised if it would be as low. Especially because there's still hostages being held. Like, I don't know if the sentiment would, like, die off so quickly. Terrorists against terrorists then, because Israeli actions are terrorism too. Could see that. Do you think any leader of Hamas is more terrorist than the Israel government? I don't really know how you would place them on a pyramid of how much of a terrorist they are. But when it comes to the danger that they pose to countries around them, yeah, and I'm not really sure how you would be like. Look, I'm kind of biased. Part of me is biased against Israel too, because Netanyahu was really, really close to Putin for a very, very long time. And I'm really, really interested if the current hits against Hezbollah and against Houthis are also going to become hits against Assad and also going to become hits against, Russians themselves. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm not too positive about the way you could realistically compare them. Let's call it fight against terrorism and destroy an entire nation. Putin is doing the same thing. Israeli actions at the time are a response against an actual terrorist attack against Israelis, right? When it comes to Russia, Russian actions right now are a response to Russians being pieces of shit for centuries. They had no reason to invade Ukraine. They had nothing to respond to. They weren't responding to anything. They invaded because of their imperialism. That was it. So, hey, yo, Miss Sanek, I'm doing great actually today. Still today, because I have to go to work on Wednesday. So I'm enjoying the last crumbs of freedom. How are you doing though? Ukrainian soldiers do not hide behind civilians, Hamas and Hezbollah do. Yeah, talking about that, have you seen the recent news of a strike in Lebanon? Was it in Lebanon? Yeah. Against Hezbollah leadership. You know where they were? In a Palestinian refugee camp. They were hiding in a Palestinian refugee camp. Leaders of a fucking terrorist organization just hiding there. Just fucking ridiculous. can't compare it to Europe. I believe, though, wouldn't it just be a normal thing in a nation to go, hey, there's been a terrorist attack against us by this nation. We want revenge. So we are supportive of the terrorists in that nation being wiped out, even if it creates a number of civilian casualties. Because like we see them as needed collaterals in fighting a terrorist group that murdered a bunch of our citizens. I feel it's just like a reasonable point, really. UN resolutions, just USA protected Israel. That's not really true. There were several UN resolutions. By the way, UN in the first place, really important to mention, UN is a useless organization. UN itself is worthless. UN has one strength, one place where it's important, not important at all, but the one thing that it actually does. And it is words of condemnation that it releases, right? Their strength is in words. When you have UN resolutions being pushed, it wasn't just USA pushing against them, because you also had Russia pushing against other ones. It kind of depended on how they were worded, because some of them were worded in a way to exclude Hamas being a terrorist group and being responsible for the attack on Israel, and some of them included it in the wording of the resolution. And depending on how much attention they put on Hamas and the terrorist attack, the resolutions were either supported by USA or supported by Russia, depending, which one it was. So it wasn't just the USA, but the ones that USA has refused were the ones that got more attention. But it wasn't true that it was just the USA. No, not at all. But again, UN is rather useless. Their strength is in words. So what you see countries voting on is the specific wording of these resolutions, even though they all kind of called for the same thing regarding a ceasefire and a stop in hostilities. They worded it differently, and this is where you saw countries choosing which side to vote for. UK did a bunch of war crimes in revenge for IRA stuff. Yeah, it's I don't know, dude, it's like when we talk about Croatians liberating our lands in Oluja, and you did have our own people engaging in war crimes against the Serb civilians. In big part, again, because our people got killed by an invading force, right? Our people got killed by an invading force. And what the soldiers wanted was revenge. And because of this revenge, they didn't care how many civilians they kill and how many collaterals they cause. They were trying to kill anyone in any way in their mind connected to the invaders. I feel this sort of a mindset is rather expected from a country. There was a victim of an attack like that. I feel it was expected. It's not really something that I'm justifying. But I feel it's expected genuinely. I wouldn't expect for it not to be a thing in Israel. Israel is killing UN soldiers in Lebanon. UN is worthless as an organization, and UN is going to do nothing about that. UN will never do anything about that because UN has no reason to be existing. It's the same thing with the Red Cross, because Red Cross volunteers have been killed in Ukraine by Russians. Red Cross couldn't even name Russians as the people who did the bombing. Everyone knows it was fucking Russians, alright? They couldn't say it, they couldn't write it because they're trying to protect their stupid asses. UN allowed the Serbs to do genocide in Srebrenica too, did absolutely nothing about it. They watched, their people watched, and that was it. They literally pulled them out of Srebrenica before the Serbs started committing genocide. They just allowed it all. So UN's gonna do nothing about it, and in part it's their own fault, because the organization is absolutely fucking worthless. And in that part, it's I feel one of the only times where I genuinely support Milei, because I'm not a big fan of the whole anarchist bullshit, but Milei had a speak at the UN where he called them a useless, stupid organization, and I was very supportive of that. Very, very supportive of that. He's y'all guys need to crumble down the entire organization and build it up again, because what it's doing now is nothing, and I fully agree with that. They're genuinely doing nothing. all of these deaths are on their hands, and there's going to be more of them, and they'll just genuinely do nothing at all. They did show strong concern. Oh yeah, true. They were like, oh no, oh shit, oh guys, oh our people have been killed. Well, Geneva Conventions has become toilet paper too. True. Melee is an American tool. Man, I don't know. I see more as like a chaos factor, to be honest. I see the man as a chaos factor. I don't know where he belongs. But an interesting man overall. Tsarist Russia and the Austrian Empire. Joseph II banned the nomadic lifestyle of the Romani people around the time when Tsarist Russia started creating the Pale of settlements for Jews. Oh man, wait, that's interesting. Holy shit. UN soldiers had to follow a lot of restrictions to make sure they can only be described as defensive. Yeah, no, absolutely, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Their own restrictions are getting their own people killed. And then their own attempts to hide who killed these people, because they're trying to like not escalate the situation, right, are getting more of their people killed. And not even just their people, because I wouldn't even care about their people as much, but like they're getting everyone else killed. Right? The genocide in Srebrenica happened in big part because the UN was like, hey guys, let's just not do anything. Let's try to negotiate with Serbs. Let's try to negotiate. Like, this is a safe zone. Let's try to tell Serbs attempting a genocide that this is a safe zone. Let's just like try that. Why wouldn't we negotiate with them? And then the negotiation attempts failed, and UN just refused to admit their own mistake. Musk puppet? I could see him as a Musk puppet. I could see him as a Musk puppet more than an American puppet, really.
The ÖVP advocates for conservative values.
Yeah, we're watching a video on Austria and still haven't finished it.
The party supports lowering taxes and proposes a 5-year waiting period before immigrants can access full social benefits in Austria. Additionally, the ÖVP is pro-EU.
Yeah, tell the bully he's not being very nice. Yes. Exactly that.
Maintaining a positive relationship with the bloc.
Because, like, have you ever dealt with bullies? Genuinely dealt with bullies? My brother has dealt with bullies, and the way that he stopped dealing with bullies was that he beat one of them up. He just beat up a dude, all right? He was always like, my brother was always, strong. He was a strong man. He was like, but he was nice. He didn't want to fight. But one point, it got way too much for him. So yeah, he did punch a dude strongly. Never got bullied again. And that's how you respond to terrorists too, all right? That's how you respond to these fuckers. You don't just like look at them and go, hey, can we have a nice conversation about why you are being a terrorist and why you're trying to blow our people up? Maybe we could come to some common understanding. You don't do that. You blow them the fuck up, right? And then they don't touch you again. That's what you do. You put fear in their hearts. Austria has been quite like that for a long time. And now it's getting worse. Because this is the first victory of the far right since World War II. So while in mentality they have been interesting, their voting didn't really reflect it to this amount until now. Non-Western world interprets Geneva Conventions as an expression of Western imperialism. They do not understand Switzerland as truly neutral. We need a different country for that. Oh, I feel neutrality doesn't exist in the first place. I think neutrality of countries is a way for them to kind of delude themselves into the idea that they can choose the middle path in a way. Because even like Switzerland, neutrality is not a thing. Even Switzerland benefits from non-neutrality of its neighbors. It's like with Austria and Austrian attempts to being neutral. You can't be neutral unless everyone else around you is not neutral, so they can protect your stupid ass. So I'm happy that certain countries we've seen in later years are moving away from this supposed fake neutrality. I'm really, really happy this is happening, and I hope more of them pull out of it, because it's bullshit. Why Switzerland so rich? Yeah, for They had interesting alliances during World War II, did they not? Now though, important thing to point out about Switzerland, their neutrality attempts are actually costing them, because there was a situation with Swiss-made weapons in Ukraine that were not being allowed to be used by Ukraine to defend itself, right? So what you're seeing recently, there was a report on this published, I think just yesterday I saw it, is that countries are now not buying Swiss weapons. Because buying Swiss weapons means that if you ever get attacked, you will not be allowed to use them, because Switzerland is trying to remain neutral, so it's not allowing its weapons to be used. So basically you're buying shit just to have it rotting in your garages, and that's that. You will never be allowed to use that. So yeah, very, very happy to see them kind of crumbling, and also very happy to see more and more people are aware of Switzerland getting money through the Nazis. And very, very happy to see Swiss themselves pushing to get out of this supposed neutrality, which again only exists because everyone else around them is not neutral. Like, you can be a useless piece of shit if everyone else around you takes the burden. You can't have everyone else being neutral, that would be ridiculous. World War III is around the corner, if not already started. Yeah. There's like, the line is blurry, isn't it? The line is rather blurry. I do think we're rather close to it. Properly starting? I don't know, in my mind, like, it started. In my mind, it's already ongoing, because I do think that Russian terrorist attacks against our countries are already like... It reminds me of the way Serbia did the wars in 1990s. It also reminds me of Russian own hybrid warfare against Ukraine previously to this invasion. Like, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know that they can't militarily invade, so they're trying to do these like soft ways to attack us first. They know damn well what they're doing, and we're just playing blind for whichever reason. All the examples you mentioned are examples of improper notions of neutrality. I see. Was there a proper way to do neutrality, you think? Are you trying to use the weapons that we sold you to the bomb someone that attacked you? Oh no. You're using these weapons for self-defense. How dare you? Cliche about Switzerland was all the Nazi gold and blah blah. That's true. It did. A lot of Nazi golds did end up there. A lot of the Jewish people apparently also left their riches in Switzerland, and then got killed, and then Switzerland just kept all of their gold too. So they're like, how to say it, neutrality, but like not at all. Switzerland has many guns, but a peaceful community. Yeah, they do have quite strict laws when it comes to that, so that's true. The alleged democratic countries keep benefiting from dictatorships as long as they're useful, they're okay with it. When they're not, that's when they become bad guys. You have remarkable examples in Iraq and Libya. I could see that too, absolutely. Still, I think we should be, pushing for our countries to be better when it comes to who they are allying with and when it comes to who they are supporting, which is why it's really important that you guys are aware of, and that you always try to vote against the current proposition of certain European Union countries. I think it was the Czechs specifically pushing for this, to work together with Assad to like get Syrian refugees back into Syria. They're trying to make a deal with Assad himself, like a war fucking criminal. So we need to be very hyper vigilant when it comes to this. You need to be aware of the danger. That sort of striking a deal with a man that close to Putin in the first place, but also a war criminal himself and a dictator, is ridiculous. But yeah, we are trying to benefit from it in some way. We tried to do the same with Azerbaijan. Don't know if you remember, in like 2022, was it? We tried to strike deals with Azerbaijan to get their oil. Which, again, Azerbaijan is ruled over by a dictator. And then, surprise, surprise, turns out that the dictator of Azerbaijan is actually quite close to Putin too, and he also likes Putin at this point. So, you need a strong basis for conceptualizing it, but finding the strong basis is the first step. I could see that. I could see that. Like in theory, I could see it being possible. In practice, I don't really think we've seen it work, and I also don't think in practice I can imagine a reason for it to work. Not just a reason for it to work, but like a reason for us to need it at all in the first place. I don't know if we got that. Like, what would be the point of having a neutral country among us? What even would that neutrality need to be? Because in that situation, like the example given here was that, oh yeah, Geneva Convention itself is not neutral enough because, you know, Switzerland is not neutral enough. Why would you need a country that's neutral between, like, on one side being countries that actually support international law and Geneva Conventions on warfare, and then on the other side you have countries that do not want to support that, and like, now we're pretending that we need a neutral space between the two. We don't. We need to defeat the ones on the other side, really. I might be a tool of Western imperialism myself, but yeah, I don't know why we should be taking those fuckers seriously. European countries are driving to regimes similar to Turkey or Russia. A big problem, and a big problem is that we are doing it because of problems caused by Russia itself, right? Like we mentioned it at the start of the stream, but the current situation in Austria, with the far right getting so many votes, in big part is caused by the Austrian responses towards the immigration crisis, right? The immigration crisis in big part caused by Russia and the Russian agents themselves. Because you see Russia bombing people in Syria, then you see Syrians trying to flee away from Syria, because of course people want to be surviving, right? And who caused the problem with the immigration crisis in Europe in the first place? It was Merkel, who was all the time very happy to bend over to Russians. So you have a Russian agent creating a problem that gets into power far-right parties directly connected to Russia. It's definitely a very, very dangerous situation for Europe to be in right now. I do think this is where I'm hoping that the center parties create a stronger basis for communication about the immigration crisis and about what they are trying to do to curb it. Because, like, even here in the video, like, you've seen that the party in the second place, center-right, they also support curbing immigration. They also support it. It's just that the far-right has figured out a way to be much louder on this. So in the minds of voters, they think it's only the far-right who cares about the issue. When it's not, it genuinely isn't. Center parties also support it. In Croatia, left-wing parties support it. Our left-wingers support getting less immigrants into the country, right? At this point, every reasonable party supports some sort of control when it comes to this. It's just that the far right has managed to create this delusion of them being the only one able to solve it. And the far right, again, directly connected to Russia, fucking causing a lot of these problems in the first place. Wall the Swiss, never let them leave, cowards. I could agree with that. I could agree with that. Can't really be neutral. In current days, you need some sort of strong ally. Most of the world is dependent on USA, Russia, or China. True. Like, we saw Ukraine attempting neutrality. We saw Ukraine attempting to, you know, go their own way. And we saw exactly how well that went. So, yeah, absolutely. Going closer to a country that will actually protect you does seem to be a good decision. To a good historical basis, pagan Grand Duchy of Lithuania, neutral to both Orthodoxy and Catholicism, and Armenia, which adopted Christianity before the Roman Empire. These are the historical bases which are neutral to these two original imperialist ideas of Western and Eastern Roman empires. Do you think something like that would be able to be repeated now, though? Blaming Russia over their capacities? Oh, I don't think I'm doing that at all. I don't think I'm doing that at all. If you look into the ties of European politicians to Russia, if you look into how many our politicians, Russia has been directly paying for, our politicians and our influencers too. I believe it's very, very clear that they have grown very deep roots inside our politics, and this is just opening them doors to get even closer. We had a prime minister who was a Russian asset. We even had our government ask the Secret Service not to look into Russian interference. Yeah, shit like that. Like Germans hiding the reality of Russian attempted terrorist attacks against Germany. Man, like, the fuck are we doing? The fuck are we doing? We are hiding it. We're fucking hiding it. There are links between Russia and the far-right parties in the EU, but the truth is that they have strongest allies outside rather than inside than outside. Man, they're like links between Russia and far-right parties in EU, but the truth is they have stronger allies inside than outside, like these far-right parties. The far-right parties within the European Union. I feel the only way to claim that they have stronger allies in other far-right parties is either by not acknowledging how many of our countries have far-right parties directly linked to and supported by Russia, or by no, that's like actually the only thing. That's the only thing. That's why they have allies. That's how they have so many allies inside the European Union. So many of them are directly tied to Russia. When you look at the far right in many European countries, I would maybe even say almost every single one. Maybe the exception being Italy, but even that maybe. Like, they are really, really close to Russians, my dear. They are really, really close to Russians. Immigrants made these places to be big, awful places. I don't actually agree with that at all. I don't agree that most of classic Europe is gone in the first place. I think the whole, like, doomerism thing about us losing European culture, I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's real at all. Like, Europe is doing GG. Europe's doing fine, really. So, yeah, I don't really subscribe to that. How are you doing, Christopher? No one likes the EU. I like the EU. I like the EU. Far-right parties have stronger support by local oligarchs. Yeah, look into the local oligarchs supporting the far-right parties. Look into the oligarchs. Check out whose money they are receiving. I did this research on Croatia specifically. It wasn't even like specifically far-right, because in Croatia we also have problems with the left-wingers. Not even like far-left. We don't really have far-left. But it was just left-wingers, and specifically our president being really problematic. And he has ties to Croats that have ties to Russia. Direct ties to Russia. Direct ties to that specific Russian. I don't remember his stupid name. But the one who was directly involved in attempting to influence the 2016 elections in USA. That man has a cousin in Croatia who is one of our leading, you could call him an oligarch, even though currently we're not using that word for people like him, but we should. So look into the oligarchs and you will find very clear ties. EU Parliament? Okay, like it depends on which part of the Parliament. We could look into the Parliament specifically right now, depending on which part of the Parliament we're talking about. It's possible with excellent diplomacy. You would need to make good relations with the West, Russia, China, and India. Yeah, but like, how do you do all of that? I don't think that's possible. You already have, bro. China and India are literally up there in Himalayas, bonking each other with sticks. Or territorial disputes, literally bonking each other with sticks. You have China laying claims on areas of Russia. And then you have Russia seeing West as the existential enemy of it as a state. You can't really have good relations with all of these. It's impossible. I don't really see it as something realistic. They're inherently opposed to each other. English far-right party, Reform UK, and Reform has got being funded by Russia. Shit like that. All the trash has the roots in Russia. All of the trash. Oh yeah, Brexit, true. Yeah, true. Italy has 3 right-wing parties in coalition, only Meloni is normal. The other 2 are pro-Russia, great. Don't you think people as Musk, for example, as a man? Who do you think is funding Musk? You think a piece of shit like that doesn't have direct ties to Russians? Dude. But my dude, you think he's sending Cybertrucks to Kadyrov just for the laughs of it? He's directly working for them. Musk isn't even attempting to hide it that well. Starlink is used by Russian troops invading Ukraine as we speak. And Musk is allowing it. Musk is absolutely fine with it. That's why I'm telling you to look into the oligarchs. Look into the... Yeah, Musk is close to Trump. Who is Trump close to, my dude? You think what is the cost of those watches? 100K? You think those watches are anything else but a way to get the money of Russians? That watch itself isn't fucking worth $50 when you buy it at a fucking Kirby. He knows damn well what he's doing. Look into the oligarchs, my dude. Look into the fucking oligarchs you are mentioning. Because yes, absolutely, Trump is definitely funded by those fuckers. You think he betrayed USA special services in favor of the Kremlin for what? The fun of it? Just, come on. Paris, London, Berlin, all these places are so full of immigrants. No. I'm GG with them being full of immigrants. I don't have anything against foreigners being in our countries. At the same time, you have Paris and London and Berlin all still doing fine when it comes to that. They're all doing fine, and they are able to keep their culture, and they are able to keep what makes them what you would call classic Europe, despite the immigrants. Like come on. I don't believe that having more darker-skinned people in our countries is what's destroying classic Europe. I don't really believe classic Europe are white people solely. When we talk about European values, when we talk about what makes Europe European, like sure, we can have discussions on this, and if you believe it's solely about the skin color, I feel I would strongly disagree. But this whole idea of like, oh yeah, I come into a place and I see darker skinned people in it. Oh shit, am I in Germany or am I somewhere else? I don't really buy that as an example of Europe crumbling down. I don't think that people with darker skin are, destroying what Europe is. Why can't you see it the other way? That Musk is helping Russia? He is. He is. Like, of course, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. What do you mean you can't see it the other way? Bitch literally lets Russians use Starlinks with military-grade GPS. Yes! He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. And of course he also benefits from it. He would not be doing this if it wasn't a benefit to him. And Russians would not be cooperating with him if it wasn't a benefit to them. Come on. Musk's hilarious take on cream, which he called Khrushchev's mistake, specifically Russian phraseologism. That too! It was given to him by his Russian handlers. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. So, yeah. Look into the oligarchs that you see supporting these right-wingers. Just look into them for a second. Rich people are usually like that as autocrats. Mean less problems with the rich want to get something down. In Russia, you need only to convince Putin, and if he agrees, you can go forward with the plans. Yeah, it's like, you know what it reminds me of? Andrew Tate. I was trying to remember his name. Andrew Tate saying that he went to Romania because everyone's corrupt in Romania, so it's easier to get away with crimes. Right? It's like that. Like you're a rich person and you want to go to a corrupt society, as corrupt as possible, because you know you can do your shit there. And like, who's gonna put you in prison? Probably no one, because you can always just pay off the right people, So of course they are siding with Russia. Of course all the pedophiles that we have in our countries are going to Russia right now. It's a perfect way to just escape your crimes. You just give a little bit of money to oligarchs and that's that. Demi, pijem kavu. Napravila sam si, malo je hladno. Fuck, where was I on this? Male and female are opposite to each other? No, they're not. No, they're not opposite to each other. Male and female do not have opposite values when it comes to what is a war crime and what isn't. And they don't see themselves as existential enemies, really. So I'm not sure how you would really be comparing that. It's not like you need to have a neutral place between male and female, because all the males want to kill off all the females. And the females are like, hey, let's introduce the international law. And the males are like, hey, let's not, let's just kill all of them. Like it's not really a comparable situation at all. Wealth divide is the problem England has. Yeah, it's a problem in plenty countries. Like you have very, very rich people, and then like the lower you go, you have people in the worst economic situation. And the thing is that the far right plays specifically to get people in this horrible economic situation. So they will see people not having money for groceries, and they will go, oh, this is because we allowed the immigrants in. Oh yeah, Musk is shitposting absolutely all of the time. Yeah, definitely. 35 years. London is not the same. It's now so full of immigrants and so globalized. How do you define so globalized? What do you mean by being so globalized? Austria is intimately tied with Russia. All its living leaders from all parties worked in Russia after retiring from government. Oh shit! Raiffeisen Bank lost 60% of its business because of the US-led sanctions. Yeah, I remember them bitching about it. True, absolutely. London has been a metropolitan city since forever. It does remind me of certain like Europeans crying about the amount of Indian people in London, and then people of London going like, oh yeah, this has actually like always been like this. You just didn't like pay attention, but it's always been like this. We're actually rather cool with it. Austrian high officials become Gazprom managers after the end of career. Yeah. The same situation was happening with Germany, if I'm not mistaken. The same thing with German officials just going to work for Gazprom too. And it was seen as completely normal. We saw it as a completely normal thing for such a long time. They have roots everywhere. Tate is racist to Eastern Europeans? Definitely. Yeah, he thought Eastern European girls are easier. Yeah, he had a whole thing with them being more submissive and more traditional, which was horrible for a while because we had an entire summer where we got a lot of sex pest tourists, like people attempting to come to Eastern Europe, Croatia included, because Tate was in Croatia at one point, specifically to like try and pick up girls. So we would just get the trash of humanity on our beaches, trying to find easy ways to get laid. You don't go around telling everyone you're doing a crime and then also charge people to watch videos detailing your crimes. Absolutely. No, absolutely. Right, talking about Oinion. Stay on your side of the ocean? Who's supposed to stay where? Muslim groups tend to be more conservative than European right. Instead of shitting on them, maybe far right should try to win their vote by preaching anti-wokeism. Oh yeah, but the problem isn't that the European right would need to accept the votes of people of a different skin color, which is what a lot of European right-wing voters do not want. After the election, Geert Wilders went back to Islamophobia. Oh shit, that's true. Sex Pest just came for one summer. It was the tourists, and it was specifically like the time when it was really popular to be coming in large numbers, specifically because of Andrew Tate. Because we did see a lot of videos from the coastline. You know, like when they do the stupid thing where they like catch you on the street with a microphone, they like go and they catch girls in the street and they're like, hey, how would you describe Eastern European mentality towards dating and relationships as being different from like the Western one, shit like that. We were having a lot of videos like that filmed on the coastline. So I know for one specific summer there were a lot of them, but also I do know that the local population didn't really like them that much. So as far as I know, this summer we did not have as many problems with them. This summer it was a lot less. So like GG. Customary laws on how the sexes should behave to each other is the basis of all systems of law. The proper rules of conduct between the sexes is what creates law and international law as well. How did the Trojan War happen? Proper rules of conduct between the sexes is what creates law and international law as well. The proper rules of conduct being like, oh, see each other as people? Because what else would be the proper rules of conduct that you believe are being created by international law when it comes to the sexes specifically? Countries of the West, those that transmit the values of woke in every possible media, now completely disappear. There is no chance that in any war in the future these countries will have any way to win over the Eastern world. Wait, but what do you think are the countries of the West transmitting the values of woke? What specifically would you point out as an example of a Western countries transmitting the woke values? Isn't woke? Yeah, that's why I asked for a specific example, because I want to look into the countries. Woke usually has no meaning. Woke usually has no meaning in what I have learned mostly. Woke means nothing. Woke in European political conversations, usually means not going the way that Tumblr users are going. That's what I've learned. Like, it's not an actual political issue at all. It's not a thing you actually see in our politics or in our countries. But people will be like, oh no, there's so many Western countries pushing the woke ideology, and then their idea of woke ideology is like some Tumblr person wanting to be called cloud self, which is like not a societal thing in the first place, let alone a political issue, let alone something that would actually, cause your military to be weaker against fucking Russia. So in many ways I see it as just like a talking point that doesn't really have any sort of value behind it. Right, that when there is a Muslim majority in a certain area will disappear completely or change in such a way that the locals will no longer be able to do anything to preserve them. But like, do you not feel that the same problem is happening when we have a larger amount of Christians in a given area? Because like Malta is not really having a Muslim majority, is it? Malta still allows women to be dying from not having access to abortion. Did we all forget the panic of, was it in 2022? When a tourist in Malta had complications with her pregnancy and the doctors refused to take out the dead fetus from her body because they were like, oh, it counts as abortion, so we can't do it. So she had to be airlifted to, I think it was France or Spain maybe, to get the procedure done so she would survive and she wouldn't get sepsis. Women's rights are not just threatened by Muslims, they're also threatened by our own culture, which makes me even more weirded out that you would present this as an issue of like immigrants versus the local population, because the local population in plenty of countries has been very happy to be very discriminatory towards women. Like it's not an issue imported by Muslims, either as immigrants or refugees. It's not an imported issue. It also, though, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the conversations when it comes to violence against women, sexual assault against women, because it's very often presented as something that like specifically immigrants are causing in our countries. Whereas like just ask fucking women around you. Just ask them. Because I can assure you, every woman around you has had an experience of being harassed or even assaulted by like a member of your own group, not a fucking immigrant. It's a problem that exists in this classical Europe you speak of. These issues are not things that are killing classical Europe. These issues existed with the classical Europe, and we are now trying to fight against them. They did not get introduced with the immigrants. In the philosophy, what are the rules of proper conduct between sexes? All humans have a certain asexual identity, but we have a sexual identity as well. But like, how would you connect this to the international law itself? That's what I'm interested in. How would you connect this to international law? Harris and NATO or others and Putin? True. Patriarchy was here before immigrants? Yeah, absolutely. Like the fact that we don't recognize marital rape as rape, the fact that we only recently introduced it as a crime in plenty of our countries, that's not an immigrant issue. That's the classical Europe issue. Right? That's what classical Europe did. The situation right now in France, are you following the situation in France with a lawsuit of that man who would be dragging his wife? And then he got a bunch of men to come in the house and to rape his wife while she was dragged out of her mind? That's not an immigrant issue. That's the classical Europe issue. The judge saying that, oh, it's not so bad. It's not like she's a kid. She's a grown woman. So, no, the crime is not as bad. That's the classical the classical Europe issue. This didn't get introduced with Muslims or with immigrants. American abortion laws are now wild. Americans, to be fair, Americans don't really know a lot about abortion. I feel they're stupid as hell when it comes to that. But yeah, their abortion control laws are really, really problematic. They recently just had a situation of a woman dying because she also was not allowed to get a fetus removed from her body. Because the doctors were like, oh no, technically it's gonna be abortion. So like you gotta wait for it to be dead for a bit longer. And then she got sepsis and she died. It was just a very, very recent case, a very young woman too. Like they're directly making it unsafe for women to even stay pregnant in the country. Which again, not an immigrant issue. Religion is not the issue, but a social and economical situation who determines the atrocities in religious name. In Spain, we had the Inquisition in the name of Christ as an example. Yeah, that's too. Absolutely. Because like I fully support laws that would control these types of issues. I fully support laws that would like make you unable to discriminate against women. Absolutely. I fully support allowing women to report these crimes easier. I fully support investigating them better, getting longer prison sentences for abusers, everything like that. But like we have to acknowledge that this is a European problem. That was a European problem and it stayed a European problem. This is not a problem that the immigrants introduced in our societies, right? We already had this shit around and we did nothing to solve it. So yeah, in that regard, I do feel like the imaginary concern for women in this situation, I feel is used in the very much same way that certain people who hate trans people are using the idea of like, oh, trans people are gonna go into women's bathrooms and assault women. Like, you're using women victims of violence as a way to hide your hatred for a specific group. You don't actually care about these women victims of violence, because if you did care, you would understand that the problem of violence against women and the problem of discrimination against women was a classical Europe issue from the start, not something introduced now. Europeans have no understanding of the values that come with the immigrants from the Middle East. Yeah, but like the same problems that these people are introducing to society, the potential discrimination, the lax relationship with violence, this is something we already have in the society. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not something that we fix by banning immigrants. It's something we fix by introducing strict laws against this, because we do need to be controlling the local population already when it comes to these issues, and we're not doing it. Yeah, Paolo, they want Western nations to be like Iran, but based on Christian fundamentalism. Absolutely, absolutely, definitely, definitely. I remember someone pointed this out. In fact, someone pointed this out that was it USA specifically? Yeah, it was USA. It was USA. It was really easy to get right-wingers to support mandatory covering up, as like when it comes to clothing. It was really, really easy to get them. You're basically like a step away from mandatory hijab. Just a step away from saying, oh yeah, women who do not wear this piece of clothing that covers them in the way I want them to be covered, like they deserved to be assaulted in the first place, you know? They deserved it. They brought it upon themselves. It's really, really easy to get them on the same page as these fundamentalist Muslims that they are pretending to be fearing. My man, this is like an interesting conversation, but holy shit, you guys are writing a lot of very long comments. Practices of abortion were common before patriarchal Christianity. True. Didn't they in Egypt like have a whole plant that was used for abortions, and then they like killed it because they were using it so much? I'm just like, if the comment is responding to someone else, I'm gonna just skip it, not to be too behind. How are still people not able to understand the right of a woman over her body? Because they come from the place of patriarchy, which is exactly like what they pretend to be fearing when it comes to conversations about Muslims. It's exactly the same thing. Oh no, I don't want Muslims to be changing our values. And then at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, well, women have brought this rape upon themselves. What the fuck is this? Oh, no, you're speaking to me, Onion. I just think you're trash, so I'm like, you're the one I'm ignoring on purpose. You've literally given no interesting comments so far, and I'm trying to only respond to, like, interesting things here, and you're just kind of babbling. You're just kind of mentally deranged or whatever. I don't know what's wrong with you. Stick a knife in a right eye in the name of Odin, the All-Father, and start raiding non-European coasts again. If you propose we start from Russia, I could actually agree with that. Like, let's just start there. Let's just start there and then see how it goes. You know what I mean? Let's just balls deep. Come on. Have you forgotten our old enemy? We've been allowing them to be peaceful for way too long. Okay, they need to start fearing us again. It's gonna be like, you know, the whole thing with like Vikings supposedly invading our countries. Hey, Apollo, thank you for the follow. I forgot what it was. The thing with like Vikings invading European countries, and then their men were like washed and hygienic enough, so all the women like wanted to go and actually be with them because they were so much better smelling than the dirty, disgusting men that they knew. I feel it would be like that if we just right now get on our horses and like ride straight into Russia. They're going to be like, soap? Fabric softener? What is that? What is that? What is this? Beautiful Mother Russia. Bro, they always look like has that been hit by something? I swear to God, so many of these Russian videos, it has been. Like, has something hit it or has something not hit it? I swear to God, so many times I see the images of that and like, this looks like the building has been hit by a rocket or whatever and blown up, but at the same time, it's not. It doesn't really look like the building itself blowing up, does it? So I'm not sure what happened. Christianity and Judaism are Arabian religions originally? Yeah, that's true. Like Judaism and then Christianity and then Islam, all of them have the same roots. So yeah, that. Oh shit. Oh, ruler Russia looks like he was hit by a rocket. That's true. I'll never forget. I'll never in my life forget that one. Hey, I saved 1420, by the way. We haven't watched 1420 in a while. But I'll never forget that one 1420 interview where he is speaking to someone about like the greatness of Russia and how Russia deserves to be controlling all of the lands around itself, right? And he walks in the street and there's this one man he's interviewing, and the man is like, yes, I am a veteran of the war, and I barely have enough food to eat. My groceries are horrible, all thanks to sanctions, horrible sanctions that the evil West has put upon us. But we do deserve to be getting our sphere of influence, and the countries that are trying to push away from us are just being like puppets of the West, shit like that. So he talks and talks and talks about how great Russia is, and then like the interviewer is like, all right, the interview is ended, you can go on your way. And they film the man, and he walks on the street, goes on the pavement, opens a huge trash container, and like looks in it to see what he can get. Like the seconds after talking about how great Russia is, he goes and he looks through trash to see if he has something to eat. That forever, I swear to God, that is like fully pasted in my mind as what Russian soul is. Just fully, just absolutely. If you ask me what is Russian soul, I'm gonna tell you that. But Russians having the rocket Sizran, named after Russian city. The joke was about this rocket being able to convert New York into Sizran. Oh, that is ridiculous. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Oh, my man, yeah, absolutely. That would be ridiculous, holy shit. Russian trash is pure treasure, true. Oh yeah, Chelyabinsk. Ain't that where No Fuckers is from, Chelyabinsk?
В вопросе СВО Трамп может как-то повлиять?
I wonder how the city is doing right now. Probably not that well, as always.
Только Путин может.
Конечно. А кто же еще?
Ну, так же не работает, что типа один человек там может это все завершить. Ну, вы это тоже все прекрасно, я думаю, знаете. Да, положительные были же там всякие конспирологические теории, что наши ФСБшники там помогали стать президентом. Забавно тоже. Не знаю, может такое быть, что
Nazis, even today's Nazis have a lot of
изменится, может это просто
Norse
сейчас так говорит, это же политика.
Symbolism that they Norse religion symbolism that they use. It's like usually when you see like the runic tattoos and everything, it's a bit of a red flag, really. It's a bit of a red flag. It's not like, the circles are not completely overlapping, but they do overlap enough. So when someone says that they are really, really into Norse mythology, you go, So how would you comment on World War II?
Вот тут вопрос, конечно, на каких условиях, так или иначе, вся тут за стол переговоров.
EU is a USA's vassal is completely true. I don't really agree with that in the first place, though. I don't agree with that. You know why I don't agree with that? I think that if that were true, we would be in a better situation than we are in right now. Because if European Union was a vassal of USA, we would not be having Nord Stream 2 built. We would not be having closer ties to Russia than we already had, right? The reason we had them was because we didn't listen to USA warning us about Russia. Not just USA, but also Eastern Europe. Like Western Europe has been going on their own way of sucking Russian cocks for a very, very long time. If we were a vassal state, we would not be having that. So, yeah, I'm not really buying it. I wish we were a vassal, and I wish when Ukraine and Georgia in 2008 asked for NATO membership, I wish we as vassal states of USA agreed to let them have NATO protection. I wish, but we didn't because we were supporting Russia instead. So I think if we want to push for anything, it's that we were the vassal state of Russia itself. I don't believe we were vassals of USA at all. It went largely uncovered by the news, but Israel targeted the Russian port of Tartus in Syria. Russia retaliated, but Israel's Iron Dome held. Oh shit. I'm kind of hoping to see I'm kind of hoping to see some sort of what's the word? A response from Israel to Russia supporting Hamas. I'm genuinely hoping to see something. EU legislation is way tougher than US legislation. That's true. Also, Orban would not be a constant blocker. That's true. If European Union was a vassal state of USA, you would not have Orban in power at all. Like, he would not be having the rights that he has right now. We would already be pushing for an article that removes the voting rights from Hungary. Yeah, but like, we are in an alliance, in a NATO alliance with USA. Of course, we need to be having NATO bases, which is what we are having. We're having NATO bases. But that's not what a vassal state means in the first place. Like, why would we need to be having bases in USA? USA is an island. It's not in danger of being invaded by anyone. USA is doing fine. Like, we don't need bases there. What will our bases even do there? It's not like we'll have a need to be protecting USA. Have you seen USA? There's absolutely no need for that. Hey, Spaceberry, the elections in Austria, horribly. Far-right got their first victory since World War II. So, yeah, not really doing well. The alliance only works in one way? Not really. It's more so that the alliance needs to be working like this in order to be, what's the word? Useful? But like, we're benefiting from USA participating in building and manning the NATO military bases, right? USA would not benefit from us doing that. It would just literally be a cost. It's not like these bases, I don't know how you imagine these bases. Do you imagine these bases have any sort of like a influence on the politics in the region? Internal politics or whatever? How do you imagine this would be like? It would be some sort of an equal benefit from European Union to build bases in USA. It would literally just be a waste of both like money, effort, and like men that we send there. What are they gonna do in USA? USA is not in danger of being invaded at any point. Like, it would literally do nothing. It would just be a way to symbolically waste a lot of shit. Let Europe spend more on defense? I feel there's a problem. I don't know if Europe spending more on defense would genuinely mean Europe also sending more to Ukraine. Because you do have a lot of our far right pushing the ideas of, having stronger defense, but you also have them pushing for removal of sanctions against Russia and lessening the aid for Ukraine. So it's putting more money in defense would not inherently be a bad thing for Ukraine, which is what's very worrying for me. NATO base, yeah, it's a NATO base, and we are benefiting from NATO bases. So, I don't really see a reason to complain about this. If Europe was a vassal, it would actually pay us money for that defense. That's true. Yeah, proper. Definitely. Oh, wait, but my video.
Эти территории. И назад, то не собирается их отдавать, эти территории. Это значит, только в результате какого-либо государственного переворота внутри России может измениться вектор какой-то внешний. Но переворота не будет
market in the world, absolutely. Like, European Union is doing really well in that regard. But yeah, definitely USA is still incredibly strong, and the reason why their trade is so successful and why their market is so strong is because their allies have so far been kept safe, right? A strong economy of your allies benefits your own economy, which is why Americans arguing for isolationism in the situation of fucking retarded, right? A war happening within your allied countries would mean lessening that trade with you, which would have a direct influence on their own economy. It's incredibly stupid to argue that America should just, pull out from Europe and just, continue trade and stuff, but don't militarily support it. That would be absolutely ridiculous. With NATO weakening, there would directly be a weakening of USA itself. Countries want to export to as their citizens have high average purchasing power. True. Absolutely. Russia pushes migrants from uncivilized countries into Europe. Europe votes for anti-migrant parties, mostly pro-Russian parties. Yes. Definitely. It's a big danger, and I don't know how we could respond to it, really. I have no idea what would be a way to fight against this, apart from forcing our center parties to have a better way of communicating their policies to the general public. Because even in Austria, which voted in far-right parties right now, even in Austria, the center party also supports curbing immigration. Right? So even in Germany, where AfD is getting more voters, even in Germany, centrists support curbing immigration. Right? They support deporting criminals that come into the country as immigrants or refugees. They support deporting them back. They support opening more arrival centers so more people can be processed faster, and then you can quicker figure out who is not a refugee and who doesn't have the right to an asylum, and then you can quicker just go, oh no, you go back to your own country, you cannot enter. Because right now it's taking a very long time, and then because the bureaucracy is so slow and because no one really pays attention to where these people are going, you have situations of people whose asylum request has been denied, but they stay in the country for years after because no one really knows where they are. So centrists themselves are pushing for this. I just think they are really stupid in the ways they are communicating that they push for this, which makes the general population vote far right instead, because they believe far right is the only one who actually cares about the problem. Big war in the Middle East? You mean Israeli attacks on Palestine? I believe Israel is doing well in wiping out terrorist groups, but I also believe that there will need to be a lot of war crime trials against Israelis, including Israeli leadership, but also including a lot of their soldiers and officials. So while I do understand that they needed to respond to a terrorist attack against themselves, I do think that they are causing a lot of civilian casualties, and with the amount of genocidal rhetoric coming from Israel, this amount of collaterals definitely seems like they are attempting ethnic cleansing. Sought migration laws we made after World War II. We want to be seen as the good boys of this world and time, while the rest of the world defends their borders. Yeah, I do think though a big problem with that, I don't even think it's about the soft migration laws. A big problem is the fact that we allowed Merkel to just change the laws as she wanted. Right? We allowed Merkel to just change the laws as she fucking wanted, and Merkel, being a Russian puppet, directly played into their hands. She herself has strongly influenced the way that European Union accepts foreigners overall. It was her own mistake. She fucked it up. So, absolutely. And then the fact that Russian-funded parties are now getting more votes because of her, of course, it's very, very concerning for me. Ba-da-da-da-dum. Compare Gaza to Ukraine. Seems like the civilian death toll is way higher in Ukraine. I don't believe that you can know the total number of civilians killed in a war while the war is ongoing. So that's why I'm not really taking the comparisons seriously in the first place. Because while the war is ongoing, you cannot know. Even after the war ends, you still will not be able to know. Like, we learned that on the wars after Yugoslavia broke apart, right? And we're talking about much smaller scale wars happening in Balkans. You can't know. You don't know who is alive in the occupied areas. You don't know who has been killed. Even after the occupied areas are liberated, you will not be able to know about the fates of so many people. You cannot know the numbers. You can kind of approximately guess the numbers, but you cannot know them for sure. So in that regard, I don't really put a lot of importance on comparing the numbers of dead civilians, which are currently just guesses. You can't prosecute people for these crimes of unnecessary civilian deaths, but you do have situations where specific officials have been spreading genocidal rhetoric, and you also do have situations of specific officials or soldiers celebrating their killing, unnecessary killing of civilians. So you can prosecute for like specific crimes, right? If there's a specific massacre that has happened that you know about and you manage to uncover who did it, you can put people on a war crimes trial for that, right? But it's not like you're able to, prosecute people for like crimes overall happening in a war. You would need to be prosecuting leadership in that situation, which I do argue for because they have been spreading genocidal rhetoric. No? Wait, let me push this.
Стамбульских соглашений. Так.
Что вы думаете о Трампе?
Ну, он смешной дед, у него прикольная прическа, его недавно пытались пару раз убить.
Как думаете, он сможет остановить войну, если придет к власти?
Ну, возможно, какие-нибудь переговоры, санкции, что-то в этом духе.
А что имеется в виду вот под переговорами?
Ну, возможно, какие-то мирные договоренности, либо вот ультиматум России. Санкции.
Еще больше санкций добавят?
Возможно. А как вы получаете деньги с видео, если YouTube в России заблокирован?
Получаем, как и раньше. Мы пользуемся посредником
The whole of
MC
YouTube
Pay.
is blocked.
К слову, им могут пользоваться абсолютно все ютуберы с любой страны. А деньги можно получать на крипту, на банковский счет, все абсолютно легально и безопасно. Регистрация очень простая, просто переходите по нашей реферальной ссылке
he just did it as an advertisement, fucking great.
Ссылка,
Man
кстати,
not
будет в
beating
описании.
the scripted interviews allegations.
По его заявлению, что может завершить эту войну.
Terror groups are among the civilians. Sometimes they are, these civilians. I don't know what would other country do, but from what I see, Israel is doing a pretty good job. I think though, you know what's the problem? That like, the conversation about Israel minimizing civilian casualties. So for example, I don't know, there are hits on Gaza. Like I understand the importance of the conversation that, you know, Gaza is very dense in population and terrorist groups do hide behind civilians. So no matter how precise you are in hitting members of this terrorist group, it is very likely that there will be some collaterals because the population density is so high, right? I understand that. But the problem is that when you see Israeli politicians and officials spreading genocidal rhetoric, the idea of these collaterals being absolutely necessary, like minimized to the point where they can't be minimized anymore, I feel it kind of loses the standing, you know? I don't really think that Israelis are doing a very good way of presenting their war, even if we attempt to assume that the amount of civilian casualties is as low as possible. Like, I don't know, when you look at the rhetoric spread by their officials, you wouldn't really believe it. I wouldn't really believe it. Almost all the quotes that people say is the most genocidal is out of context. I don't know, I've seen some rather problematic ones. And I think we also have seen Israeli soldiers celebrating acts of killing civilians. So personally, I think a part of it could hold up. And then also, like, I don't know, when you combo it with the situation in the West Bank and with their settlements there and the actions taken as a part of it, I'm not really trusting that they're minimizing civilian casualties as much as they could, really. Israeli government and Iran plus proxies are different sides of the same coin. I can see that because like Netanyahu was really, really close to Putin, and that's what really, really worries me too. He was really, really close to Putin. I do believe that with Putin supporting Hamas, he has felt pushed to go the other direction, but I don't know how much I trust him yet. Democratic state with an independent court. I don't think they're doing a genocide. I feel a lot of countries that we saw as rather democratic still had their democracy push them into very problematic acts. Maybe not like genocide itself, but ethnic cleansing, I feel definitely. So, government is a coalition of far-right and theocratic parties. Yeah. Elected democratically, so like, Hey, General, how are you doing? We will eliminate everything. We will reach all places, but he actually said Gaza won't return to what it was before. Hamas won't be there. We will eliminate everything. Oh, I will need to look into that specific quote. To be honest. Feels Israelis are doing a pretty good job. I don't know. I'm open to waiting for longer to kind of see how this all goes, but personally I'm definitely concerned for their rhetoric. Very concerned for the rhetoric, and also very concerned for the excuses used about it, so... Па-да-да.
Ну, отчасти нет.
А что заставляет не верить?
No, Netanyahu was specifically close to Putin. Netanyahu was specifically close to Putin. He has to walk a fine line. I don't support Netanyahu. Israel attacked Russia's support in Syria the other day. The idea that their allies ignore that Russia is allied with Israel's main enemies. Yeah, but that's... they were very, very close before the Hamas attack on Israel. We're talking about two leaders that were very, very close, specifically Netanyahu, specifically to Putin. A very close relationship. But then it was not even like uncovered, because Russia basically didn't even hide the fact that they support Hamas, right? And I think this is why we saw a shift. This is where we saw them kind of separating from each other. But I don't know how much I trust Netanyahu still. I'm not sure how much I trust the man's, current positions. I do know that we have seen some of their politicians, some of Israeli politicians being rather harsh on Russia in their speeches, but I'm genuinely not sure how much I trust it. Kind of stressed as I haven't heard from some friends back home. Oh shit. Oh, I've heard the situation is horrible. There's some towns I've seen. Is it still a situation ongoing? There's some towns that supposedly were just fully blacked out and no one had contact with people inside. Seems very concerning. If Israel would tie up all of Iran's weapons, I would say yes. No additional weapons for Mordor. But Iran is still doing weapon deliveries to Russia. Alright, that too. We don't know about Wagner training Hamas. As far as I know, it has never been properly confirmed. There was some, There was some allegations of this. I have seen allegations of someone like maybe saying something Russian, but I also then seen that it was possibly misheard. So, yeah, personally not really sure in how true this is and how much is just Russia paying for, terrorist groups overall. A lot of small mountain communities just scraped off the earth by flash flooding. Holy shit. So it is still ongoing, huh? Because I mean, I've seen a lot of people like refusing to evacuate, making videos, and man, it seems horrible. That just seems absolutely horrible. Fuck, wait, where were we? Israel tried to destroy Russia's support in Syria? Yeah. I think it comes from after, you know, Russia has openly expressed support for Hamas, but before the Hamas attack, they were definitely very close. They should have left, but that part of the state never sees weather like this. Oh, shit. Yeah, I've seen quite a lot of conspiracies for some reason. About the hurricane starting and supposedly it going into like Republican states or whatever. Very unexpected, to be completely honest.
Его сдерживает правительство, условно. И он сдерживает правительство. То есть у них разделение властей, и в одиночку он что-то сделать не может. То есть глобально нам именно какое будет первое лицо не важно, потому что...
Yeah, I think it was engineered. Yeah, that was wild. People being like, oh, how did this just appear now? A US owner, what did Austria do now? Austria had elections and caused the first victory of far-right in Austria since World War II. So yeah, good luck. Good luck.
Я думаю, что он мог бы постараться.
Oh yeah, that emote, yeah, exactly.
Думаю, что да, что он смог бы что-то сделать.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible, my man, it's horrible. They elected a anti-NATO, anti-European Union, anti-Ukrainian, pro-Russian, far-right. So, hey, thank you for joining, Crane. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Что он мог бы сделать?
Yeah, Austrians,
как мне
good luck.
кажется, он бы мог прекратить поставки оружия в Украину. Скорее всего, в этом заключается. Либо какие-то переговоры.
17, I guess
Может,
he's just like worried next year he's gonna be in the,
непонятно,
you know,
что вот именно будет.
Да, на самом деле верю. Возможно, Америка прекратит поставки в Украину.
Sister party of Putin's political party? Oh, I don't know that. I know they are very supportive of
Как думаете, есть ли у него мысли как-то поддерживать Россию, помочь разрешить конфликт, который у нас сейчас в Украине идет?
Пожалуй, да, ему как бизнесмену невыгодно, чтобы большая часть бюджета была адресована на поддержку вооружений, тому, когда...
has contacts with the United Russia Party?
Мне кажется так, если с позиции простого гражданина.
I see that.
Мне кажется...
Oh, it signed cooperation pact with United Russia. Great, incredible.
Просто популистское высказывание.
Ну да, чтобы просто
describes a lot about one Austrian dude I've been arguing with online. Oh shit. Is he a painter?
Он придет, он не будет этим заниматься. Он вообще как бы республиканцы, они же позиционируют себя как те люди,
которые занимаются внутренними делами Америки.
Ну, не многообещающий, короче.
В связи с тем, что он еще себе выбрал Карсона, советники. Я думаю, этот умный парень, журналист Карсон.
Карлсон.
Чтобы тут ошибок не наделал.
Fucking Carlson.
То есть приход Трампа однозначно для нашей страны сыграет хорошую роль.
Yeah, get your shit together, Western Europe. True, absolutely true. I mean, do we count Austria?
Если Трамп для своего государства был более эффективен, чем Байден, то для нас таки это наоборот более негативным, чем то, какую политику
I feel mentally they do fit in with the Westerners. Mentally they do fit in.
Вполне возможно, США гораздо больше потеряют
But I also know that Germans like will never consider Austria.
Трамп, он более настроен
Really, Russia has
на,
colluded
скажем
inside
так,
Austria? Yeah, definitely. It's just it's
он
not
более
surprising.
проамериканский.
And
Байден это
yesterday,
всё-таки,
like while the
на мой
voting
взгляд,
was ongoing,
ставленник,
I was following
трансатлантических компаний, да,
the
корпораций,
Twitter
которые,
commentary on it. Crowd specifically was having like
которые защищают
full-blown
свои интересы
meltdowns every
в
once in a while
других странах.
when looking
Но
at the
все-таки он
polls
сможет
and
помочь
figuring out that
нашей
the far right
стране.
is,
То есть что он может сделать?
you
Допустим,
know,
он станет
doing
президентом.
really, really well. So it's not surprising. I don't think anyone was really surprised. It's just you see us sliding into it, and like it's just going on, and you can't do anything about it. And it's weakening NATO. It's weakening the European Union itself. It's opening more doors for the Russian influence because the far right in question is directly tied to Russia, and they have campaigned on problems that are specifically Russia created. It's, I don't know, not surprising, but very concerning, I feel, overall for Europe.
Ну, хотя бы так. Вот, хотя бы без агрессии, может быть, хотя бы какая-то
I
попытка
wasn't
что-то
listening to her,
решить,
but like, come on.
попытка договориться.
Why are we asking random?
Я думаю, что войну можно будет
20-something-year-olds
остановить
for
только
political
решением двух государств, которые как раз в эту войну и вовлечены. А как известно, страны Запада, они не вовлечены в войну, они всего лишь оказывают поддержку как бы Украине, поэтому я считаю, что тут нужно лишь нашей стране и Украине прийти к какому-то мирному решению в интересах граждан их обеих стран.
I understand that shit. Can't even like argue again. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I can't argue against it at all in any sort of a way. It's like it's been going on for too long. This is going on for too long. And any way that it ends without Russia completely defeated is going to ensure we have to go through the same shit again. So yeah. No one here is without sin. Yeah, but like USA is not currently invading another nation and attempt to genocide it. I feel that's rather important to mention when we talk about this. Like, we shouldn't really be normalizing what Russia is doing to try and make it equal to someone else, you know? We shouldn't really be doing that. All of the conversation is about like, oh yeah, well, USA is not like a perfect country either. True. But like, is it invading another nation and attempt to genocide it? No. Is it sending soldiers specifically to go and rape and kill children and women in occupied areas? No. Is it murdering entire families and then importing Americans to be living there so they can be attempting the annexation of entire territories? No. Like, USA is not nearly as horrible, really. Trump will say, Putin, what are you doing? Putin will say, let's stop. Adolf Hitler was born in Austria. True. Started his political career in Austria and then moved over to Germany, which we should be careful about where the Austrian far right is going after this. Really, Scholz is losing support in Germany, so Germany is ripe for a replacement, and Trump gave Putin the green light in 2018, though I feel the entirety... Man, unironically, I feel the green light was already given back by the Obama administration, because like we did nothing when Russia invaded. I feel the green light specifically was given already there. Trump, as much as he's a piece of shit that cooperated with Russia, I can't see him as that responsible. What did the US do wrong? Did they not arm them earlier? Well, imposing restrictions right now is another thing that they are doing wrong, as we speak. Right? So I feel that was also... Trump at least knew for sure Putin was going to invade. No, but like Putin already did invade when Trump was around, right? Putin already was in the process of invading. Trump just continued cooperating with him. That is the sin of US, Obama not doing more. That's the first one. Obama administration, horrible foreign policy is the first one. And then it's just like piling up. It's piling up more and more and more. But yeah, it was the start. Winter is Coming, where he critiques both George W. Bush and Obama. Oh wait, I'm gonna save that. I'm going to save that. Is it a good book? Let me save this, let me save this, let me save this. I'm always looking for new shit. I need to start like posting my books online so I can flex with how many of them I have, because I have a lot. NATO can't really be a threat in their mind. No, definitely NATO was never a threat. The idea of NATO being a threat was solely created to be an excuse for the Russian invasion. It's not true at all. They don't fear NATO in any sort of a way. Obama resetted US-Russian relations and had a red line. I don't know, I haven't read it yet. Ah, makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Decisions made by Finns and Swedes. It was Finland joining NATO. True. Like Finland, why did you join? Finland, why did you join? Hey, by the way, I've saved this Adam something video. Do you think it's good? But like it's on social media. And I'm feeling it might be. Because like we didn't mention Musk being specifically bought by USA. I'm feeling it might be. So I'm kind of interested, but also I don't know. I haven't watched Adam something in a while, so I don't know. But also I will have to leave for a second because I drank a lot of water. So what I'm going to... They also made a video on the far right winning elections. I'm going to play you this one while I run for a second, and then we will watch the social media one.
This video was brought to you.
We're gonna do that.
On Sunday, Austria's
Let's send Elon to Mars.
party,
I actually fully agree. I hope he makes that stupid rocket of his and he actually manages to leave. I feel no one would really be sad about it. Be right back in a second. Get up, get something to drink so we can watch the social media thing, alright?
Explain the rise of the FPO and why the party might actually struggle to form a government. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. So let's get straight into the results. The FPO came in first with roughly 29% of the vote, up 13 points from 2019. In second was the incumbent Conservative People's Party, or OVP, dropping 11 points to 26%. The centre-left Social Democrats, or SPO, came third with 21%, broadly the same as 5 years ago. In fourth was the Liberal NEOS Party on 9%, again little change. And in fifth were the Greens, who are the junior coalition partner to the OVP, dropping nearly 6 points to 8%. But before we get into the potential coalition formations, let's first explain who the FPO actually are, and where they came from. Unlike many other far-right parties from across Europe, the FPO is not exactly a recent phenomenon. It was founded in the 1950s by former Nazis, and is no stranger to the Austrian public, having twice been the partner in a coalition government, once in the early 2000s, and more recently in the late 2010s. Anyway, back to its history. Having been a relatively marginal opposition party for a few decades, the FPO veered sharply to the right in the 1980s, under the leadership of the young and radical Jörg Haider, whose nationalist, anti-migration and anti-EU views helped grow the FPO until it came a strong second in 1999, with nearly 27% of the vote, beating the mainstream conservative OVP for the first time. The two parties then formed a coalition, though not with Haider at its head, and the inclusion of the FPO in government prompted much international outcry, and Austria's fellow EU members sanctioned the country and effectively cut diplomatic ties. This first stint in government was marred with infighting, and the FPO lost significant support in the 2002 election, and the coalition eventually collapsed in 2005, and the party underwent a split. The FPÖ, then led by Heinz-Christian Strache, would eventually re-enter government with the OVP in 2017, having done well in an election dominated by immigration, a boon to the FPÖ, who over the years had honed its anti-immigration and anti-Islam rhetoric. This new coalition, though, under Chancellor and OVP leader Sebastian Kurz, lasted less than 2 years, ultimately collapsing due to the so-called Ibiza affair, which saw secret recordings emerge of FPÖ leader Strache offering public contracts to an alleged niece of a Russian oligarch.
Hey, yo, came back, holy shit. What is the conversation?
In 2019, the FPÖ's support dropped 10 points, and the party was once again relegated to the opposition, as the OVP eventually formed an improbable coalition with the centre-left Greens. After the pain of 2019, though, the FPÖ's fortunes have evidently been turned around for a few reasons. First, the party's leader, Herbert Kickl, who took over in 2021, is an adept sloganeer, having been your
launched himself. Shit, yeah, with the roadster he sent. Oh, I remember him doing that.
Just some recent examples include
oh, I remember him doing that. Yeah. Spent all money on Twitter. That's true. Twitter is a humongous loss of cash for Musk. Probably can't even afford to go to Mars anymore. I feel we need to do the thing with mocking him for having no money to go to Mars, because he's incredibly stupid as a man. He has the brain of like a 10-year-old. I feel if we go, ha ha ha, you have no money to go to Mars, he would actually like launch himself just to prove us wrong.
The party, whose electoral platform is titled Fortress Austria, wants to ban what it calls political Islam. Cut provisions for asylum seekers, block family reunion visas, and is also committed to so-called re-migration. The economic shock of COVID, then Russia's invasion of Ukraine, made the cost of living a key concern for voters too, with Austria's sputtering economy and inflation rate being stuck above the EU average. The FPÖ blamed migration and the war in Ukraine. In fact, the FPÖ opposes sanctions on Russia and any support for Ukraine, saying that it undermines Austria's neutrality, and its MPs even walked out of a speech by Ukraine's President Zelensky to the Austrian parliament. On the flip side, the FPÖ has notable ties with Russia. It signed a cooperation agreement with Vladimir Putin's United Russia Party in 2016, and in 2018, Putin was a guest at the then FPÖ's foreign minister's wedding, where the pair danced. Anyway, while the FPÖ has enjoyed growth over the past few years, polling shows that the same was not the case for most other parties. The centre-left SPÖ, despite leading polls in 2022, fell back into third place over the next 2 years. As for the ruling OVP, Sebastian Kurz's rocky chancellorship ended in 2021 amid a corruption investigation and a significant drop in the polls. The uneasy OVP
Austria is just coming back to the classical Europe of old times, you know,
but has struggled with unpopularity and internal feuds. Nevertheless, in the run-up to Sunday's election, the OVP had managed to narrow the polling gap pretty effectively. Perhaps its depictions of Kickl as a threat to democracy and security encouraged some voters
Elon, you
to rally
spent all your
around
money on
Chancellor
Twitter
Nehammer,
and now you
who
can't
was in
even
the
go
public eye
home
this
because you're
month,
so
leading
broke.
an emergency response
What a
to
loser.
severe flooding in
So then he
Austria
actually
that
goes and just
disrupted
gets
the
stuck there, whatever.
But regardless, now we have the actual results. What kind of government might form? Because, as is usual in Austria, there will need to be some kind of coalition here. And there are broadly 3 possibilities, with the first being an FPÖ-led coalition. The only party that would realistically form a government with the FPÖ is the OVP, but the party's leader, Karl Nehammer, has ruled out forming a coalition with the FPÖ if it means making Herbert Kickl chancellor, saying it's impossible to form a government with someone who adores conspiracy theories. So, in theory, Nehammer has left the door open to an FPÖ-OVP coalition led by someone else from the FPÖ. However, Kickl has given no indication that he might be
expanded closer to Russian border.
This
I didn't
also
even see
decreases
that
the
message.
likelihood of another possibility, an OVP
I completely
coalition
missed that
led by
message.
someone from the
I completely
OVP,
missed that message.
Nehammer.
But yeah, that would be
The third possibility is that Kickl
incredibly
outright
stupid.
refuses to step aside.
Also, yeah, as you
and
point
then
out
the OVP
properly,
could form some
fully
kind of grand
supportive of
coalition
Russian
with the
imperialism.
SPÖ. Not entirely unusual in Austrian politics.
and
which,
maybe
like, if
even
anyone
include the
cares about
NEOS
any sort
or
of
the
European
Greens
values,
too. This may well be the
you
most likely
can't
outcome,
also be
given that
supportive of
President
Russian
Alexander Van der
imperialism.
Bellen, a former Green politician whose job it is to appoint a chancellor, has strongly indicated that he doesn't favour appointing an FPO-led government.
Yeah, I remember Meloni
Nonetheless,
having
if
that
the
one
FPO
really,
does
really
enter
angry
government,
speech. Do you
not
remember the
only
one
will
where
it
she
mean a
called out to
further
the
shift right in Austria
appeasers
and the
in
raised
government?
prospects of clashes in Brussels, it will also be another brick in the
She
populist
basically
Russia-friendly wall
she called them
that's
out for
emerging in
wanting
Central
to
Europe
be
right now. However, the FPO's previous
less
stints in
harsh on
government both
Russia.
ended prematurely and in tears, so the party will surely be hoping that history doesn't repeat itself.
What do the world's best politicians have in common? They're
Oh,
willing
shit,
to
no,
learn
he's
something
going into the
new
advertisement
every
part, I
day.
think.
And if you think that sounds too hard or too time-consuming or just too overwhelming for you to do, then you haven't tried brilliant.org.
Fair. Italy and Greece, birthplace of democracy. Yeah. Sure. Not really, staying close to their values as we speak. Not really staying close to their values right now. That's not a problem. That's a bit.
This video is sponsored by Delete Me. Imagine you're back at your parents for Christmas, spending time with your
Austria
extended
is staying
family.
close to their
You meet
values,
all
though,
sorts of
with
relatives you haven't
selecting
seen
a
in
far
years. Aunts, uncles, cousins,
leadership, so I'm
grandparents.
not really even sure how much we want the classical Europe to be coming back. Caption settings? No, of course not. Shut up.
From all over the country. You sit down and have a chat with all of them during your stay, and the conversations go the way you would expect. Fun, interesting, lighthearted, but then you go talk to Uncle Bill, and it all goes downhill. When you tell him where you live, a bigger city some hours away, he asks whether you aren't afraid of getting beheaded. Why would I need to worry about that, you ask? Because of the gangs of violent Islamist thugs, he answers, roving the streets looking to murder Christian white people. Not sure what Uncle Bill is getting at, you decide to just shift topics instead. You bring up your studies at the local university. Oh, university? So you hate heterosexual white people now, don't you? What? At universities, students are being brainwashed by woke ideologues, using critical race theory to hate whiteness. This is all part of their plan to destroy us. With that, Uncle Bill proceeds to explain to you how the world works, at least according to him. Apparently, universities are brainwashing camps run by the deep state, the cultural Marxists, the people who drink the blood of children in the basements of Washington pizzerias. The government has been taken over by a cabal of woke, Satanist pedophiles. Donald Trump is waging a secret shadow war against them as we speak. They tried to steal the election in 2016, then succeeded in 2020, and will try again in 2024. When Q, Donald Trump's secret whistleblower operative, drops the final leak, Trump will signal the silent majority, the normal people quietly suffering under woke tyranny, to rise up and overthrow their Satanist pedophile masters, resulting in a glorious civil war against woke degeneracy, led by Donald Trump, the champion of the Christian world, fighting against the moral rot at the heart of Western civilization.
Oh, he actually does need a goatee now.
That Donald Trump was actually a good friend of Jeffrey Epstein. More than a dozen women accused him of sexual assault, and that he openly cheated on all his wives. Uncle Bill's response? Fake news. I assume many of you have had similar interactions with such relatives, who seem to be living in an alternative universe, with whom you cannot even agree on the basic facts of life. Most often, such people get their views from social media, a place where anyone can post anything, and any post can go viral for any reason, to be seen by millions, sometimes tens or hundreds of millions.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The
oh shit, yeah, I remember that.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
Evangelists of social media, so-called free speech absolutists like Elon Musk, celebrate this fact as a victory for direct democracy. News and information by the people, for the people. Access to unrestricted, uncensored social media bolsters the everyday person as if wielding a ring of power. However, much like their original owners in Middle-earth, everyday people were all deceived, for another ring was made. Deep in the land of California, in the fires of Silicon Valley, tech billionaires wielded a master ring called the algorithm, and they set out to make tons and tons of money with it. But social media companies aren't the only ones looking to make money on you. Others make a living by scraping your personal data from wherever they can. Data brokers, at best, sell it off to some company looking to fine-tune an algorithm. At worst, you can become a target for identity theft or harassment. The safest choice is to keep your digital footprint under control by removing superfluous data about you. And Delete Me, the sponsor of today's video, will help you achieve just that. Here's how it works. There are hundreds of so-called data broker websites out there that collect online personality
never
data.
heard Trump
Experts
say
at Delete
something
Me will
smarter.
scan hundreds of those websites and request
He's
the
like
removal
physically
of your
unable to
personal
say
data, helping
something
you reduce your digital
actually
footprint. In a
intelligent.
week, you'll be getting a
Swear to
privacy
God,
report
man's so
detailing what sort of
incredibly
data was found and was consequently removed.
But also, like,
Delete Me
I'm
will
strongly
rescan those
blaming the
websites
media
later
for
to make sure your data doesn't
ignoring
surface
his
somewhere
wrongs.
else. Do not let your
I feel
personal
that's
data fall
bullshit
into the
because
wrong hands. Get
it was just
20%
pointed
off
out
Delete Me
recently.
consumer
He had a
plans by going
speech
to
quite recently where he
joindeleteme.com/adam20
was
and use the promo code
absolutely
Adam20
idiotic
during
on like
checkout.
several
That's
fronts.
joindeleteme.com/adam20
Absolutely fucking
promo
idiotic,
code
right?
Adam20. Thank
At
you
one
for checking
point
out Delete Me.
he questions why Biden
You
left
might
the
have
race,
noticed
and then he goes to like say that he wants to meet with Kamala's father or something. Like, it was just him being fully deranged throughout the entirety of the speech. But the way media headlines represented it is Trump. How was it? Trump gets harsher in criticizing Kamala Harris. Like, that's your headline? You watch a man losing his fucking mind and you go, oh yeah, well, he's criticizing her more. No! He's being fucking deranged. How the fuck are you reporting on this? Why are we all getting soft on this idiot? Not even like right-wing media, just like overall. I don't know, it feels we are getting very very problematic when it comes to normalizing the type of problematic rhetoric that we are allowing politicians get away with. Trump is just like Vatnik through completely
That
unable
social
to
media,
have
especially Facebook,
brain
but now
issues.
also Twitter, is absolutely rife with unhinged, far-right disinformation. That's where people like Uncle Bill usually get radicalized. Turns out the most bombastic, outrage-inducing, unhinged posts are the most profitable for social media companies because more people will see them and the ads placed around them. Therefore, social media companies have a financial incentive to platform and amplify what is most often far-right misinformation. This incentive structure was on full display during the recent UK race riots, where a mentally ill UK-born teenager from a Christian family background stabbed multiple people to death. On Twitter, however, misinformation spread like wildfire about the murderer being a violent, murderous Islamist immigrant. Crowds of far-right hooligans then went on to clash with police, break windows, attack mosques, and tried to set a hotel housing refugees on fire, all based on wild rumors spreading on Twitter. If you take a look at photos of the people rioting, it's a question whether you would be able to have a conversation with them outside the riots about world affairs. Even if they have the mental capacity for it, and even if they aren't outright white nationalists, many of them simply no longer inhabit the real world like we do. Their world, as opposed to ours, is more like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, constantly under fantastical threats, full of villains coming to get them at all times. But instead of Thanos, Hydra, Loki, Ultron or Galactus, they have George Soros, the Deep State, feminists, the woke, and or Jews in general. And social media cemented them in these views. First, by prioritizing
who was in chat talking about the danger of the woke? Did we ever get a that was fast. Did we ever get a like explanation of that? Of which countries are countries encouraging the woke? And then what exactly was the woke in the first place? Did we ever like get an explanation of that shit or never? Because now I'm interested. If they like double down or not. The bot could type English. I don't know. I saw Russia mentioned and I was like, fuck off. I don't even know. It's probably supposed to be an emote. I'm hoping it's not one of those jokey emotes or whatever. I'm against the war, which everyone should be since the moment NATO enters the war. It would be a worrying situation for everyone. No, it already is a worrying situation for everyone. Permaban? Oh, I think, yeah. I did a manual ban. If you want them back, by all means. But to be honest, it's like, it's a, how do I say this? Reflex reaction to see slava you mentioned. Like immediately, go. But yeah, NATO entering the war, like, you're placing the red line at an arbitrary point that makes no sense, right? Your red line is NATO entering the war. I feel that's rather blind. And I feel that's rather dumbassy. Oh shit, Coward Command. Holy crap. Bringing it back. Sorry, Slippers is not in chat, and usually it's Slippers screaming at me to turn on the bot. Yeah, we don't have Slippers, and I forgot. But yeah, like you're placing the red line at an arbitrary point of NATO entering, which I think makes no fucking sense, because like we're already seeing Russia attempting terrorist attacks against our countries. We're already seeing Russian hackers attacking our government institutions, right? Why is that not your red line? How is that not already concerning to you? We're seeing Russia butchering an ally nation. How is that not a red line to you? Why is this already not a worrying situation for everyone? I don't see how you're like, why are you placing the red line in your mind, specifically on NATO, getting involved in this, and not in Russia designating us as the enemies of Russia itself and attempting to wipe out the West itself? You know, like there's just no reason for this.
Bombastic, outrage-inducing, far-right adjacent misinformation. Second, by giving them more and more of the content they click on so that they see more of it, so that they see more ads, so that social media companies can make more money on ad revenue. Third, by simply not moderating the platforms well enough. You could go on Facebook right now and find thinly veiled white nationalist propaganda with tens of thousands of likes and millions of views, clearly against the terms of service. But millions of users being subjected to white nationalist propaganda also means millions of ad views, thus massive revenues for the owners of social media sites. Introducing these incentives into a global online social space is a recipe for an absolute disaster, an extremely lucrative disaster for people like Mark Zuckerberg. And the logical conclusion of this process is today's Twitter, a type of turbocharged medieval town square in all the wrong senses.
Even about Russians getting killed
raw emotions, lies and misinformation, witch burnings, lynch mobs, blood libel charges, with hecklers and mad prophets on every corner, further driving the crowds into
not
a
even
frenzy.
just like
And the
involved
owners
with
of these private town squares make massive stacks of cash in the process, except for Twitter's. Elon Musk is perhaps the only large town square owner who isn't making money off it. A person of remarkably unimpressive intellect, Musk's ultimate mistake was to overstep the tolerance level of advertisers when he refused to do even nominal moderation on Twitter. According to the unspoken agreement between governments and social media owners, social media sites are allowed to host anything and everything with the exception of open Nazism and obviously illegal content. Musk permitted the former and mostly stopped enforcing the latter, thereby overstepping the world's most lenient and generous red line, forcing advertisers to leave in droves. Masterful gambit, sir. Musk did all this allegedly because he's a free speech absolutist. He's taking massive losses on Twitter, sure, but it's all worth it. The reasoning goes because that's the price of protecting
also questionable for Poland,
now,
because we did see Duda going into USA recently to advocate for Trump's presidency.
Core values seem to shift based on how he feels at the
Russia
moment.
does
For example,
have
this free speech absolutist had absolutely no issue with enforcing government
we saw that
censorship of Twitter
specifically with
accounts
protests
requested by
against
India and Turkey, among others.
Ukrainian
But when Brazil asked him to clamp down on disinformation, he threw a public tantrum over it and essentially pulled out of the country. Truly a genius of our time, who definitely has the brain of an adult.
Truck
and
drivers
is not
with like
addicted to
USSR
ketamine. Guys,
symbolism.
he's not a ketamine addict. He does not spend his evenings lying on the couch posting bullshit while high, okay? What's happening to Twitter under Musk is in many ways very educational for the rest of us. It shows us the logical conclusion of uncontrolled social media, of the proverbial town square. Instead of a bustling free marketplace of ideas, it's a den of hysteria, misinformation and far-right propaganda. And we haven't even talked about malicious state actors. What if a country, say a dictatorship with large petrochemical revenues, decides to purchase millions of bots or starts employing thousands of people to spread their propaganda across hundreds of thousands of accounts? What if the big trending topic on the main page you see everyone talking about is a massive psyop with 90% of all engagement being done by bots or troll farm employees? What if it's all fake? What if you encounter so many such psyops that you stop believing anything you see? I can think of a relevant, now famous quote here, which I'm sure you've heard before. What is the cost of lies? It's not that we'll mistake them for the truth. The real danger is that if we hear enough lies, then we no longer recognize the truth at all. What can we do then? What else is left but to abandon even the hope of truth and content ourselves instead with stories? And
by the way, Vlad Vexler, if you were watching Vlad Vexler, he has a really good video on this, on the way that Russian disinformation works, and the way that it's not actually trying to create like an alternative story that it sells to you, specific one that it's supposedly agreeing on, but what it's doing is creating several alternative stories, because what it wants to do is create a situation where you don't trust anyone, so you don't even trust the real ones, right? So this is why a lot of their propaganda points are very often not agreeing with each other at all. So you have the situation of, I think Bucha massacre was incredibly saturated with this propaganda from the second it was discovered. So you had there was no dead civilians in Bucha at all. It was people acting to be dead, right? And then you had, there were actually dead civilians, but Ukraine killed them. Then you had, there was no dead civilians. It's dead soldiers, and Russia did kill them, but Ukraine dressed them up as civilians. And then you had the whole thing of like the aerial photos being published, and then the Russians again trying to create several different theories of like where they left, how they left, and how Ukraine could have been at fault for these civilian deaths in the first place. All of these theories contradicting each other, right? All of them contradicting each other, but all of them existing in the media space anyways, and all of them being pushed. I don't know if you remember, was it Dugin's daughter? Yes, Dugin's daughter, saying that the entire thing, it wasn't even faked by Ukrainians, it was faked by Americans, and they specifically chose to fake it in Bucha because Bucha sounds like butcher, so they wanted Americans to think of Russians as butchers, you know? It's like several theories, none of them can coexist with each other in reality, but it doesn't matter that they can't coexist. It matters that you hear of all of them at the same time. So then when you see actual real footage and real investigations, you go, this is just another one of the theories. I don't know if I can trust this one either, because, there's already 10 different ones that I've seen. This is a theory number 11. I just don't know what's true, really. It has to be seen whether or not NATO approves the use of the Allies' long-range missiles on Russian territory, which, it definitely should do. Holy shit. It's deeply concerning that the restrictions are still standing. It's a Hollywood movie, true. The Russians made a movie about it? What really happened in Bucha? Bastards. Pieces of shit. Talking about Russian movies, though, Russians at War is not going to get shown at several film festivals that it applied to, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because think about specifically in Canada that it was shown already. Just a fucking movie about Russian propaganda. Oh, look at all these Russians invading Ukraine. They didn't know. They're so sad, and they had no idea. It's literally that meme. You know the meme about like USA coming into your country, killing your people, and then 10 years later it makes a movie about how sad their soldiers were that they killed your people. It's literally that, but like Russia is doing it while it's killing your people. Making movies about like how hard it is for them to come and do a genocide against you. Ridiculous. 1,000 Buchas already in occupied areas? Absolutely. Which is why the idea of giving up occupied areas to Russia is so concerning, because you would never be able to uncover this. All of those mass graves that you can literally see from space, you're never going to be able to investigate them and to find out who's buried there and to give them proper justice. You will never be able to do anything about it. Agreeing to give occupied areas to Russia means that these people will just never get any sort of justice, and that's that. Bucha means a riot? Oh, nice. It has no similar word here for that. That's really, really interesting to me. Russian disinformation tried to push that Ukraine did another Bucha in Koronevo before they entered the city. Bastards. Just bastards. Imagine that. What pieces of shit.
Herein lies the core of the problem. The fictional relative I mentioned in the beginning, Uncle Bill, is a person who has abandoned truth and is now living in a world of stories. There are millions of people like him, and their numbers are growing thanks to unregulated social media. The issue is that it is not possible to maintain a democracy with such people. How do you hold elections if, according to half your country's population, their side either wins or the election was stolen from them? How do you find common ground? How do you meet in the middle if they think your side are degenerate, Satanist pedophiles coming for their children and need to be destroyed? You can't and you won't. And once the number of people detached from reality reaches a critical mass, democracy simply stops functioning. If two sides of the political spectrum cannot even agree on what reality they occupy, that's how you end up with countries like Belgium. In order to prevent this functional collapse of democracy, social media needs to be hugely regulated. Recently, Brazil banned Twitter for not complying with court orders. While that's a good emergency solution, we need more systemic measures. So here's my action plan to fix social media. First, we must make sure that the people we see on social media are real and not just bots or messed troll farm accounts. For this reason, regular users should be divided into two categories: confirmed and unconfirmed. Unconfirmed users cannot interact with the site. They cannot post, like, share, comment, and so on. They can only view content, add friends, and use the private chat function.
How would you...
This measure alone would render hundreds of millions of bots and sock accounts effectively useless. In order to become a confirmed user, you would need to go through the same verification process as when registering for an online-only bank. You submit photos of your ID, you record yourself holding up your ID next to your head, turning left and right, and so on. Once it's confirmed that it is indeed you registering, your account becomes confirmed, enabling you to access all features. Your full legal name is displayed at all times, and you bear legal responsibility for what's getting posted by your account. With this arrangement, we'll have cut down online abuse, harassment, and threats by approximately 90%. If you harass, abuse, or threaten someone on the online town square, there will be immediate legal consequences, just like if you do the same thing on the real-life town square. Social media pages should also get a...
I was like, I feel... You know what I feel it brings back? It brings back a situation where someone's gonna beat your stupid ass for saying horrible genocidal shit, and I think we need to bring that back. Because a lot of people, you talk IRL, I don't know how many right-wing voters you know IRL, but like IRL, they do not say the same shit as they do say online. Don't know if you've seen the viral clip of Hassan going on recently, but it's like similar to that. It's similar to that. Because he had a guest on his stream and he was showing him, was it Houthi propaganda videos? I'm not sure who it was, but it was basically a terrorist group propaganda videos, right? And usually Hassan plays the shit for his audience and everyone's like, oh yeah, terrorists. But he showed this to like an actual guest in his room for the first time, and the dude is like, Are these guys singing about how much they love doing terrorism? And like, you find this fun? That's deeply concerning. And that's what happens to like right-wing voters IRL in the first place. They will not say the same shit to you IRL as they will write online, because they are aware that in real life they're going to sound absolutely fucking deranged. So I'm feeling verification like this actually is rather good, because it brings back that like social shunning of people who say sick, deranged things, right? You would not be calling for a genocide in a normal goddamn social situation, because everyone would look at you and go, what the fuck is this absolute moron advocating for? IRL, they usually mask it. They don't call for genocide. They go, oh, I'm actually rather concerned. I'm rather concerned about these people and their values, and I'm feeling like maybe like it's okay to kind of fight against them, you know what I mean? They try to say it softer than they do online. Does not overrule my right to say something? Sure. No one's saying you can't say something. I'm saying that shit you say should be connected to your face. I'm saying that it should be connected to your name and face. Because, like, as much as I have to bear the consequences of you saying stupid shit right in front of me, you also should be the one carrying the consequences of saying stupid shit in the first place. I feel that would only be right. Yeah, you can say stupid things, absolutely. Absolutely. No one said they wanted to imprison people. No one here argued for imprisoning people. Literally, like, no one supports that. I don't support imprisoning people. I do support those shunning away genocidal bastards and terrorist supporters, and I feel that we should be aware of who is a terrorist supporter in our midst. You know, I feel it would be rather helpful to know their identities.
First off, every page must clearly display its legal owners and which country they are operating from. Above 10,000 followers...
That's true. You shouldn't be able to just, like, change. You shouldn't be able to just, like, fucking change it.
The owners of the page must publish their tax returns to make sure they aren't getting funded from abroad and or by dodgy organizations.
True.
If a page or personal account...
Which also Twitter was doing previously, was doing the thing where you would know who's funding the account, and then they just removed it.
the posts confirm misinformation, their posting privileges get revoked. I would also disable most share functions. The most I would have is to share content posted by people on your friend list only visible to the people on your friend list. Each post could only be shared once. After you share it, your friends will get to see it, but nobody else will be able to share it further unless they manually copy it and repost it themselves. The idea here is that Uncle Bill and people like him will generally be too lazy to manually repost anti-vaxxer content, white nationalist memes, hoaxes, and so on. In general, your social media activity would only be visible to people on your friend list. There would be no option to set your activity to public. These measures serve to clamp down on the unrestricted spread of misinformation and to restore the original function of social media, to connect with your friends online. I would also establish a certified news organization category, meaning social media pages cannot post news articles unless they can prove they have a real-life press accreditation. Even then, they could only post articles written by them. This is to clamp down on so-called citizen journalists who somehow always end up being Russian propagandists or conspiracy theorists, usually both. And now comes the most important part, the decorporatization of social media. Basically, social media sites would become a functional, lightweight site like Wikipedia with a strong community notes feature. We can also tack on a forum to it for good measure with the same content rules. Such a social media site should also be hosted on publicly owned servers. It would also be non-profit and free of automatic ads. Funding could be done the way many European countries fund their public media, by having each household pay $5 to $10 per month to directly fund public media. This would help ensure impartiality, since there is no political middleman here who could, say, withhold funds in case the broadcaster airs something they don't like. The online town square is also a public service after all. Such a website would eliminate much of the online abuse, harassment, and threats. It would stop the unchecked spread of disinfo.
I'm not sure how much this would open the doors for like more. It sounds good if you like have proper governments, but when it comes to the way that content is being moderated too, though also I do feel like if measures he mentioned previously are implemented, that would already make for quite a good situation when it comes to moderation of content. But yeah, it would be an interesting thing to attempt.
Identify malicious actors and spreaders of confirmed misinformation. It would make social media a better place by ending the 24/7 hysteria and outrage cycle, focusing on connecting with your friends instead. It would cut out the corporate owners and malicious state actors looking to benefit from people's misery. Of course, proponents of free speech absolutism or citizen journalism would strongly condemn these ideas. Such people thrive in unchecked, unregulated, corporate-owned environments where they can get away with lying or spreading misinformation and propaganda, where normal journalistic standards do not apply to them, where they can pick
I would give up
social
part
media
of
corporations' greed and ride the profit-maximizing algorithm to the top. They want the freedom to say absolutely anything to their audiences without the due responsibility. We must disregard.
I mean, freedoms even. Like, what even is the social media freedom that you would give up? Like, posting slurs? What even is the social media freedom? There's no... You know what? Like, what would you give up? What exactly would you give up? Posting lies? That? Being anonymous when you spread genocidal rhetoric? What even is it?
Of value to the table, except for wild conspiracy theories, misinformation, and often
still like shit Musk is doing.
This is what must be
he's
done
genuinely being
to fix social media, to clamp down on misinformation, on the unchecked spread of lies and propaganda, and online harassment and abuse, to help stop the erosion of our democracies by not letting people fall into information bubbles, thus parallel realities, through the manufactured consent of malicious state actors or profit-hungry corporations. The alternative is the medieval town square with Elon Musk as the town mayor, a nightmarish concept for anyone in their right mind.
I would be absolutely fine with controlling the influence of harmful actors. I would be absolutely chill with it. I feel that people like Musk are definitely negatively impacting democracies, not just even the USA one, but like overall. So yeah, I'd be GG with it. I actually support a lot of these. I know was it France who tried to push the laws for ID identification when it came to certain websites. So I was also okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with more control being imposed onto social media people. A case in Brazil with Musk. Hey, how did that go? Oh, I've heard he did something regarding that recently, didn't he? What was it? Did he agree to bring it back by following the rules? Oh, X has to pay one last fine before its ban is lifted in Brazil. Early this month, X filed paperwork informing Brazil's Supreme Court that it's now in compliance with the court's orders, which it previously defied. Which, by the way, incredible moves from Brazil. Incredible moves from Brazil. Because as far as I understand, they demanded Musk control certain disinformation spreaders. Oh, the Minister of Brazil Supreme Court initiated a probe into Musk and X over alleged obstruction of justice. Yeah. And then Musk was like, "Oh, all right. Well, if you just like don't stop pushing against me, I'm going to close X in the entirety of the country." And Brazil was like, "Okay, all right." And they did close X in the entirety of the country. And then Musk had to comply with their request anyways to bring it back. Check this out. X faces increased competition in Brazil from social apps like Meta-owned Threads and Blue Sky, which have attracted users during the suspension, right? Starlink also faces competition in Brazil from eSpace, a French-American firm that gained permission this year from the National Telecommunications Agency to deliver satellite internet services in the country. So he lost a bunch of money and then he was forced to, be more fucking normal. Oh fuck, why were we here? Has to put his lawyer back there? Oh. Man, that is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Oh yeah, hamsters can't vote because we gotta eat them. That's true. Hamsters, I'm sorry guys. Hamsters are not able to be voting because if we allow hamsters to vote, they're going to vote not to be eaten. And what do we eat then? What do we do then? How will we survive, huh? Raccoons need voting rights. I feel that one specific raccoon that was kidnapped by Russians, I feel he does deserve voting rights because I'm feeling he would vote on my side. I'm feeling he would vote for what I believe in, which would be just complete obliteration of Russian soldiers inside Ukraine, so they can't be stealing more raccoons. So yeah, full. Here's a raccoon. Yeah. I'm hoping he's currently chomping away at some Russian systems to try and break them. Oh, German Foreign Minister Baerbock has voiced her support for providing Ukraine with long-range missiles for self-defense, despite opposition from Olaf Scholz. Oh man, great. Who's gonna be in opposition? Olaf fucking Scholz. Who else? Who else, really? When asked about Germany potentially supplying other types of weapons to Kyiv, Baerbock reiterated her position but noted that Scholz holds a different view. Man. In a democratic coalition, if partners cannot reach an agreement on a particular issue, we cannot proceed. In such cases, the Americans, British, and French step up. Man. I think they're just coalition partners, right? Scholz rejected calls to supply Taurus missiles to Ukraine. Yeah, because he's a piece of shit. That's why. Had my fair share while playing squad over the weekend. Oh man. Oh no. Oh, I got into meme videos of gamers throughout my before my vacation, because I didn't really play many games, but I wanted to know what was new. Oh man, for 2 days, I had slurs embedded in my vocabulary. For 2 days, I would be automatically saying certain shit. Like, I had to control for it. I had to implement control for it for the stream. Bro, oh, the voice chat is wild. The voice chat is fucking wild in so many games. Just, oh. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to get banned into, you know, the dark lands of kick streaming, but oh shit. Yeah. Where's DB? But we need him. True. Where's DB? DB is probably working, to be fair. Probably working. He's always working. I also needed to read you my news on a European correspondent. Then I have to go. Then I have to be leaving. They made news on Eastern Europe last, and we didn't read it on stream because it wasn't streaming when they published it. And I do have like 15 to 20 minutes left, so we can just go through this. Armenia is shifting tongues and relationships. Oh, what are they doing? They directed schools to allow students to choose at least 2 foreign languages to study. Hey! For the first time since Armenia's independence, Russian is no longer a mandatory foreign language? It was mandatory all this time? For a century, Russian was a mandatory foreign language. What the hell? As a second foreign language, depending on the school, students usually make a choice between English, French, or German. Holy shit, that was loud. I'm sorry for that. English has always been the most popular preferred choice, and the accessibility of French has been on the rise for a while. Given the excellent French-Armenian relations and Paris' unwavering diplomatic and military support for Yerevan, the two countries have recently signed agreements to promote the French language in Armenia. Nice. Nice. I'm happy to hear that. Even as part of Armenia's generation of independence, I was still taught Russian in almost all grades of secondary and high school. Although my school, like many others, prioritized English over Russian, it could not circumvent government-mandated Russian classes, which I still had to attend once or twice a week. Man. In Belarus, Russian, rather than Belarusian, remains the most widely used language in media, education, business, and daily life. True. Man, that is... Oh shit, I had no idea that for a century they just pushed it everywhere. That is wild. Fucking century. And then Russia goes, oh, Armenia, you're getting attacked by Azerbaijan? Who fucking cares, really? Who fucking cares? Just like don't. Just like stop it. Yeah, de-Russifying. Nice. Perfect. Denazification, really. Armenia should be the new place of neutrality. I'm not really sure Armenia wants to be neutral, though. Because being neutral in their position, I'm feeling it would just open the doors for Azerbaijan to go and butcher them up later. They are seeking a close relationship to NATO. I know they wanted to be... What is the word for that? Not a member of NATO, but like still protected by it. Major non-NATO ally? Something like that. They wanted to be, they wanted to still be protected. Yeah, partners. Maybe that, yeah. There was like a specific acronym for it, and I can't remember it. But yeah, I don't really know how much neutral they want to be. Because I'm pretty sure Russia would not consider that to be neutrality, you know what I mean? Can't really be neutral without causing your people to die, really. It's a very suicidal way of attempting to do neutrality, unless you're Switzerland, in which case, you know, get fucked. Hey, this too, oh shit. German far-right member employs prisoners on Belarusian onion farm. I mentioned this last week, if you remember. The investigation was fresh and new at the time. An AfD member has a plantation, onion plantation in Belarus, and he's exploiting political prisoners of Belarus to work on it. Do you understand how insane that is? An AfD member has an onion plantation in fucking Belarus, a vassal state of Russia, and he is making political prisoners from Belarus to work on it. That is wild. That is wild. That's, man, that should be political suicide. Holy shit. Prisoners were paid approximately €5 per day for their labor, noting that the labor was not forced. Adorno has faced criticism for maintaining business ties with Belarus, particularly as the report mentioned him personally visiting the country to oversee the work of the prisoners. Holy shit, he knew! He fucking knew! There have long been reports of poor conditions in prisons and isolation centers in Belarus, which could amount to inhuman treatment or even torture, in addition to the current political situation tensions. According to the human rights organizations Vyasna, more than 1,300 people are currently held on politically motivated charges. Yeah, there's a whole list of these people, and it's wild. And if you look into why they have been arrested, it's absolutely fucking heartbreaking, okay? You have people who like literally just posted something online against the Belarusian regime and they were arrested immediately. How will the Armenian genocide be addressed within NATO? I'm not sure NATO is currently too focused on that as an issue. So I genuinely don't know. Yeah, €5 is the cost to have a legal slave. Yes. €5 fucking a day, my dude. €5 a day and you can get political prisoners to be forced to work on your farm. No, they weren't forced, bro. They're gonna get killed in prison. They're getting killed and tortured in prison. Like, come on. And yeah, it's a horrible situation. It's absolutely directly exploiting them. Just absolutely horrible. Hey, talking about this, by the way, I don't know if it's gonna be mentioned here, because it's also rather fresh news, and I don't know when they wrote this one. But there's been, surprise, you're gonna get shocked, okay? You may want to be sitting down for this. Apparently Navalny has been killed by Putin. Surprise, I know, you're shocked, like your heart just now skipped a beat. Wow, Navalny has been killed by Putin. Really? There's apparently investigations confirming he has been poisoned. Oh my god, yeah, I know, me neither. I read it and I was like, what? I thought a man of his age just like dies on the spot with nothing suspicious going around. No. Yeah, when they wrote the first reports after he has died, the first reports mentioned that he has been throwing up a lot, right? And then you just see it deleted from later reports. And then you see them going, oh yeah, it was a blood clot. So apparently, yeah, it's fully confirmed right now that he has been poisoned, which I'm sure no one's really surprised by, but still, hey, it's kind of the news. Turkey denies the Armenian genocide. Yeah, Turkey kind of goes between, on one hand, denying the Armenian genocide happened, and on the other hand, saying that they deserved it to happen. So I genuinely don't know how NATO is going to respond to, NATO countries are going to respond to those accusations. But overall, I find it rather interesting how the genocide-related conversations are happening in Europe. Overall? Like, I don't know if you've seen the Holodomor conversations. I find Holodomor conversations to be rather fascinating, because it really shows to you how they're unwilling to designate something as a genocide, even when it fulfills all of the criteria for being genocide, just because politically they want to align with Russia. And in the same way, they politically want to align with Turks, right? You see the same with Circassian genocide, which I believe is only currently recognized by Georgia. Even though it absolutely was a genocide, right? There's no questioning about it. But you only saw Georgia recognize it, unless I'm mistaken, no one else has recognized the Circassian genocide as a genocide, even though it was a fucking genocide. So it's interesting to watch that, and also very interesting in that regard to watch the current conversations about the currently ongoing Russian genocide attempt against Ukrainians. Because it's the same thing, it fulfills every single criteria. It fulfills every single genocide criteria. But they're not wanting to call it a genocide, because if you call it a genocide, that means you have to do something very similar to Serbian genocide attempt against Bosniaks, where they refused to call it a genocide. Because if you say, oh, they're attempting a genocide, then you actually have to spring into action, and they don't want to spring into action. So yeah, very, very interesting on that regard. Armenian genocide, yeah, I think is getting a lot more recognition than Circassian genocide. Definitely. Would expect Kazakhstan to acknowledge Holodomor too. I think Kazakhstan is currently still trying to be close to Russia. I think they're trying not to steer too much away from Putin. So I don't know if they would be too happy about that, because Russia is attempting to hide the reality of Holodomor. Discussions have frequently centered around sanctions against Russia and Belarus, especially following Russia's annexation of Crimea, the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and Belarus' support for it. A list of European nations facing sanctions extends beyond these two. For example, China imposed sanctions on Norwegian imports after the 2010 Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Chinese dissident. Libya sanctioned Switzerland in 2010 after Gaddafi's son was arrested for allegedly abusing servants at a Swiss hotel. Gaddafi went as far as to call for the dissolution of Switzerland and urge an all-out conflict against the small Alpine nation, though these threats never materialized. Oh my man, seeing Libya starting a fight against Switzerland would have been one of the funniest shit ever. Counting the years European countries have been sanctioned by the EU, US, Russia, or other countries. Oh man, that is silly. Oh my man, that is silly. Has Croatia ever been sanctioned? Where's Croatia? No one would sanction us. We're nice people. Oh, US? What did we do to you? What did we do to you, people? What did we do? What did we do? Defense trade restrictions on Cyprus? Oh, but we had something like that, but I don't believe it was like here. It should have been previously. Or was it still ongoing here? Man! We never did anything. We're nice people. We're nice people. I need to Google it. USA sanctioned Croatia. USA sanctions against Croatia. Yeah, I've got no idea. I'm seeing Western Balkan sanctions, and I do know we got sanctioned during the war. I don't know anything else. Had to do with the war in Bosnia, but this was like a bit... Since this is 2000, this is 222. This to me seems to be like what, 2000? This is 10? 2005? Economic cooperation. Yeah, I've got no idea what we did. I've got no idea what we did. We did nothing bad. 2008, not seeing anything about that. Yeah, we were also fighting to get into NATO at the point. That's also true. I forgot about that. We became NATO members. Why would we be sanctioned at a point? I'm gonna be Googling this. It was something... International military education and training. We got kicked out of that for a while. We got kicked out of that in 2003. And then they brought us back in 2006. Is that? Is that like 3 years? Does that look like 3 years? 2003, 2006? Looks a bit longer for me. Well, we had that. We were not allowed to participate in International Military Education and Training Program. Says due to some diplomatic disagreements between US and Croatia. So when you ask if it's because we had a right-wing government, maybe. I mean, not really. How do I say this? How do I say this? We weren't really right-wing according to our own standards. We were really close to Russia for a while, though. It could have been because of Russia. I'll have to look into this. This is really interesting for me. But I'll have to look into that because during the war, USA refused to support us when Yugoslavia was crumbling. But like this was 1990s, so before this, like little image starts. 1990s, USA refused to help us. Russia did help us. USA refused. USA was like, oh, Yugoslavia is crumbling. We don't want Yugoslavia to crumble into pieces. We want Yugoslavia to remain one country because we are idiots and we believe this is how we get peace, by forcing these nations to stay one country. So we will not be giving weapons to countries attempting to escape Yugoslavia, all right? So they like refused to supply us because they were like, oh, if we refuse to supply Croatia for long enough, it's going to lose the war, and then Yugoslavia is going to remain somewhat whole as a nation, despite the fact that Slovenia was already out at the time. Yeah, Girkin was in Bosnia. I have seen no evidence of Girkin being in Croatia, but I do know that there's like supposedly photos of him being in Bosnia. That's as much as I know on that, to be honest. Arkan was butchering around Croatia. I would not be surprised if Girkin and Arkan were rather close when it comes to that, so... Russian Christianity. Yeah, Russia supported us. I don't even know why. I'm genuinely not really sure why. Why Russia was supportive of Yugoslavia crumbling, but it was, which for a while for us was really, really useful. Arkan, you know the name? Oh yeah. It's a Serb war criminal, specifically one responsible for killing several members of my family. His slut is still in Serbia. Don't know if you know that. I don't know how much you're aware of Serbian culture. Serbia has this celebrity who is like the mother, the queen of Serb nation, and she is Arkan's little prostitute. Her climb to fame was literally, she used to be one of those big titty singers going around shaking their asses, and then she figured out that the man she is singing for is a war criminal, abandoned her family to go and fuck with him, and now they have 2 kids. Or 3? I don't even know how many kids they have. No, it's several. I also know he got killed like a dog that he deserved. Ceca is though still alive, and Ceca is still a very popular figure in Serbia, along with the kids that she spawned from banging a fucking war criminal. Prigozhin of Serbia? Yeah, Prigozhin of Serbia. It's just that Arkan did manage to leave behind his prostitute and their kids. So it's like he managed to leave a shit stain on Serbian society to this day, right? Whereas Prigozhin got barbecued, and then Wagnerites turned out to be the most worthless group of people anyone has ever seen in their life. They like cried about the man for 5 minutes, then forgot about him. So I'm feeling that Prigozhin's shit stain is going to be a bit shorter lasting overall. Like, he's already forgotten. Arkan will never be forgotten as long as Ceca is, still going around shaking her tits. Great love story. Yeah, great love story indeed. Very Christian values. No, horrible. Just horrible people, the both of them. I personally have a strong beef with Ceca. I despise that woman so much. You can't imagine how fucking much I despise that woman. Russian Orthodoxy? Oh, to be honest, I never looked specifically into Russian Orthodoxy. Never looked. I do know they are rather... I know they are more death cultish than Serbian Orthodoxy. That's what I know. Because I know some Orthodox Serbs, and they get rather shocked sometimes by shit that Russian Orthodoxy is pushing for. Like, I don't know if you've seen Putin's military church and stuff like that. Something like that would not really be a thing celebrated in Orthodox parts of Serb society. Pro-war parts, yeah, sure. Greater Serbia parts, yeah, sure. But, like, actual Orthodox people they see that as a rather deranged thing to be doing. So, yeah. Prigozhin is still screaming at Shoigu and Gerasimov while burning in the hell where he belongs. I hope that whenever another Wagnerite sells their ass to Russia, I hope Prigozhin turns in his grave. I'm genuine, like, I'm hoping he's doing the spinning every single time Grisha speaks. I hate the man. Both Prigo and Grisha. Fuck that little prick. For more than 2 years, young Ukrainians have been forced to live under conditions of constant danger, uncertainty, and fear, which have fundamentally altered their childhood and had a serious impact on their mental health and development. Holy shit. During the war, children in frontline areas have spent between 3,000 and 5,000 hours in bomb shelters, which is equivalent to 4 to 7 months of living in basements and bunkers. Man. A charity project called Behind Blue Eyes was created with the hope to offer a glimpse into what Ukrainian children experience today. Through art and photography, volunteers provide disposable film cameras to children in these areas, allowing them to photograph their lives for a week without rules or adult intervention. The photos are processed, printed, and used for exhibitions and fundraising. Shit! Oh man, the project has a Instagram page. I'm gonna give you a link to this. If you wanna be checking it out. What do you mean World War II started in our country? I see World War I. I mean, even that one, it started in Austro-Hungarian Empire, technically. Yugoslavia. I mean Balkans. I see that. I see what you're saying about that. Like World War II? How do you think World War II started? It wasn't here that it started. Georgia. Taxi culture in Georgia is thriving. Nice, Georgians. One of the cheapest and most popular options available is Yandex. Nice, Georgia. For fuck's sake. App servers are primarily based in Russia. Yes, they are. And now they also offer food deliveries to your doors. Don't know if you've seen that. So that's great. That's fucking great. Raids in Georgia could be monitored by Russian authorities, raising fears of widespread surveillance. Oh no, why would you think about that? Oh. Man, horrible. Fucking horrible. They're just allowing them. Absolutely horrific. Without World War I, there would be no World War II. Yeah, but like World War II didn't start in Balkans. That's making no sense. Like as a place to put a blame on, that's making no sense. The appearance of the 27-year-old son of Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev at a high-level cabinet meeting has once again opened up perspective for his possible future presidential succession. Possible? Would they have any questions about it? The current president of Azerbaijan is the president of Azerbaijan because he inherited the position from his father. Of course he was going to give the position to his son. Was this ever a question? Yeah. His father ruled Azerbaijan from 1993 to 2003, and then we had Ilham getting the position, and then there was that. Like, ridiculous. Of course he's going to become a president. Who questioned this? Who was like, Ooh, gonna give you a link to this one too. I have not read this newsletter previously, so I have not heard the song. This is Europe. Nice, there's a whole playlist. I'm gonna give you the link to the whole playlist, actually. Here's a link to the entire playlist, made by European correspondents. So yeah, if you're interested in some... Hey, we got Parni Valjak on it! The legends. Oh, no, anyone else. Who else is Croatian? No one? No one? Oh, no. Oh, I am Georgia. Oh. Okay. A sky full of stars? Alright, Coldplay. Where's Coldplay even from? Never checked it out. But I support at least one Croatian getting on the list. I support that. Hey, baby lasagna! We got 2 Croats on the list. Nice. Okay, that's fair. That is fair. Hosier we got? Why is he here? Okay, now I don't know how they choose who's gonna be on the list and who isn't. That's your country, there would be far less war. I mean, I would say that without the Austro-Hungarian Empire putting their boot over us, we would not need to be, fighting for liberation in the first place. That's what I'm seeing. Now we have World War III. True. Fucking true. But you can always go more back in history, right? Without World War I, there would be no World War II. But without the oppression of Slavic lands in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, would there really be World War I in the first place? I feel if we were just allowed to get our freedom, we would not need to be creating that situation at all. Yeah, there would be something. There would always be something. There would always be someone oppressed. But then if we were allowed to create a pan-Slavic nation from the start, I'm feeling we would still be starting some sort of wars regardless. So, Plus that also I feel ignores the many fronts of both World War I and World War II. Because the only front was not the front that, started here. There was several of them. That's kind of how World War works. So yeah, there would still be a war. And nice, those are the most important stories from Eastern Europe. Well, nice, that was cool. They also did have another newsletter on meeting the new commission. But yeah, that's long. But I'm rather happy that they do these types of what's the word? Of analysis, because I do think it's really, really important to be knowing who is representing you in your local politics. And also they are doing the whole thing with like USA focus. Of how much Europe is focusing on American elections in order to try and get more funding for European correspondent, because it is mostly commenting on USA elections from the position of like European commentators rather than just looking at what's going to happen in USA. And I think that's also really, really important. And this is what I mentioned, by the way.
You were in Bucks County, Pennsylvania the other day, and I know that you were celebrating those people who denounced communism, and at that time you were encouraging people in America, Polish people in America, to vote in this U.S. election. Tell us why.
Oczywistą sprawą jest, że
Well, it is obvious that Poland has
it's not about just the Archduke dying. If his death crumbles the entire empire, that means the empire is already not stable.
We stood at American side right away after the terrorist attack on America from September 11th. And we were together in Afghanistan. Polish soldiers died there fighting arm in arm with American soldiers, and there are a lot of extremely moving stories. Also, when an American soldier saved the life of a Polish soldier and he died himself, he shielded him from a bullet, simply speaking. We have got also those common, very moving, very important elements of a wonderful brotherhood in arms. And because of that, I would like Poland, as the credible and good ally of the United States, to also have in the United States its support. I'm a politician, and I know that politics is pragmatic. We have got about 10 million Poles living in the United States.
Yes.
So actually this is an electoral value, so to speak. So I'm convincing them. I'm telling them, listen, every one of you who can vote in the United States, who has got the right to vote, I urge you to go to the elections.
Thank you for that. President Trump was supposed to be with you on that
Yeah,
visit.
he urges them to go to elections for Trump, which is like the most anti-Polish position really could be. Absolutely ridiculous, but fair. Mordor. Ridiculous. By the way, I have to go soon. North Carolina. There's search and rescue teams from 19 different states and the federal government in North Carolina right now. Holy shit. Holy shit, man. Oh, I don't know if you've been seeing the videos of that, but it's wild. The amount of water, just fucking wild. Man. Hungarian counterpart. Oh, by the way, the Hungarian advisor, I think it's advisor to Orban, the one who said that Hungary would not be defending itself if Russia came to invade it. He may be getting replaced if we are lucky, so keep an eye out on that. He may be getting replaced. We don't know really anything at this point, because Orban did try to like adjust his messaging there, but he couldn't even adjust it a lot because you know, the words said were very, very specific, and Orban, in attempt to fight against these words, he would have to go against a lot of the rhetoric that he has been pushing for and a lot of the Russian supporters that have gathered on his side. So he hasn't really done a good job, really, and right now it seems that he's just going to take the easiest path for himself and remove the advisor in the first place to kind of, you know, attempt to lessen the issue. Oh shit, yeah, how to leave soon. Thank you, Taiwan. I got interested. I didn't see the news. I'm very, very interested in this. There's going to be a new sanctions framework on Wednesday when I start working. Man. Man. Personal sanctions against 116 individuals and entities, further limits on energy-related activities, a ban on the transfer of Russian liquefied natural gas within the European Union, and restrictions on financial operations. Hey, by the way, good news. Croatia has broken the record for the amount of wind turbine-created energy in the last month. So we broke our own record. I don't know how much of the overall energy it has supplied, but more than ever previously. So we're doing good. Croatia is doing good. We're trying really, really hard to move away from using Russian gas, and currently I think we're fine. Switched my mod for the game that switched the first aid to a grenade on the Russian factions. They try to heal themselves and they all get blown up. But like that. You just drop like grenades with a little plus sign on them and they blow the fuck up. Would do that. I would advocate for that. I feel that would be a war crime, but like in a game it's alright. You know that meme about like gaming allowing you to live out your wildest fantasies? I'm feeling that Russian invaders getting blown the fuck up would be rather good when it comes to that. Also, I have to leave. I have to go, genuinely. It's 1:36. Next stream I will update you. I'm hoping for Wednesday, but I do start working on Wednesday, so wish me luck. Wish me luck when it comes to that, alright? If we don't do Wednesday, then we're gonna do Thursday. Fuck, I always want to say Tuesday. I never know which one is which. We're gonna do a Thursday one. So, yeah, but I will be updating you on Discord when it comes to that. So, yeah. Stay strong, stay healthy. Make sure to vote better than the Austrians do, please. I have given you links, I think, to both the... Where my link is? To the project. Here's another link to the project if someone is interested in checking it out. And here's the link to the European correspondent playlist. Personally, I'm very interested in checking it out. I think that's what I'm going to be doing today. Just like playing a bunch of these songs. So yeah, let me know if you have a favorite one. Let me know how it went. And yeah, I'll be seeing you next